in the long run. It definitely did make a lot of sense. But
Just more room over there.
yeah.
Gotcha.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Derek and Friends podcast.
We're live,
We
huh?
are a special. This is a special one. Unfortunately, having some technical difficulties with the cameras, so we're just gonna talk, and you're gonna hear us.
Yeah.
No video this time, but it's all good. I'm here with my special guest, Todd Allen. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I've been seeing you do this, and I was curious. I was vicariously living through you, and I decided to throw my name in the hat. I said, "Hey, man,
Sure, dude.
can I come out and do it?"
Yes. Yeah, man. Well, first of all, thanks for coming out. I appreciate you driving all the way out from Yuba.
It's not that bad. You and Tyler both say the same thing. It's like, "Hey, thanks for coming way out."
It's not okay. You're right. It's not that bad, but I still think that it's if you're going back and forth. Like if you're going there and back for in one night, it can be a long time because you could hit traffic. It could be fucked up. I get it.
Yeah.
As long as you're not living in LA, then you're fine. Because
if I was leaving here today, yeah, it would have been a shit show because the traffic that was on the other side was mind-boggling. For how many miles
no.
I saw, I was like, "Ooh,
Atrocious.
that's just a rough one."
yeah, we just had a traffic thing was the other night. We had a jumper on one of the bridges here in Vacaville. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but he didn't die. They saved him. But
God,
it was
don't you think maybe this is morbid, but like if you jump off a bridge right there in the highway and you survive, you're like,
fuck. Well, here's my other quarrel is like it wasn't that high up, like not to say he couldn't have died because he would have went head first probably. I know this is horrible probably for the people listening to this, but if he survived, like you got to live with that shame forever.
Yeah.
So you just stopped.
well, you're immediately on a hold. You then are being rehabilitated. You're awake at. I mean, I would hope you at least got knocked out, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
that's the
Or have some form of amnesia or something like that, so you don't remember it.
something to forget the fact that
Jesus.
you watch yourself all
Yeah.
go down.
Truth.
I mean, that's a sad thing that people feel like they need to get to that direction. I'm a big
It
advocate
is.
for speaking about mental health. I've struggled with that in my life, and it was as a man, I think you can relate to this, and a lot of men. You're kind of told not to talk about it or just suck it up. It's like suck it up, Buttercup, get over it. Women are so forward in their feelings, and I always admired that because people are like, that's what women are. And I was like, no, I think that's what we could be as human beings. We need to listen
Sure.
to somebody, especially if you could see somebody who has faults, or you could see something brewing in somebody.
Yeah.
To be that vessel for them so they can heal. I think it's power. I think
You could also be that's almost kind of the stereotypical guy, right? Is to be emotionless, lead with no fear and all that mumbo jumbo. But at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? We all have emotions. Now, whether or not we choose to share them with each other or not is up to us. But in the long run, it's going to be more beneficial for us to be on the same page with everybody.
Oh yeah, and I think it's everybody has to have that person, right? I think that, and you probably have someone. I mean, I would think that was Tyler to you,
Dude, this is like the 7th time I've name dropped him on this podcast.
well,
And
he
it's
was
so
all
funny.
salty on Facebook. He was like, "What's the invite?" I was like, "It's only the cool club shit, man. Sorry, you won't
Fuck
understand."
that guy.
But no,
Fuck
I know you. I've been meeting your friends, right? I've been meeting everybody to hang out, but really, I knew you and Tyler.
Sure.
And I saw your guys' dynamic.
Yeah.
Obviously, back when I was still married to Cara, when we would hang out together, it was Tyler and I, and you and Cara. It was just our personalities just really blended together, right? And kind
Sure.
of thing. I've gotten to know you now, and we've had a rough patch, but I understand. I understand you.
Sure.
And I think you understand me.
Yeah.
And so, but it's I have my person that when I'm feeling like something's not like it's too much, like stuff is too much, I have my person that I can go vent to,
Sure.
and they can just give you their
Yeah.
point of view.
Yeah.
And
I
or
get
just
that.
Yeah, or just tell you, hey, I think you're overreacting.
Yeah.
Which is okay.
Well, usually it's. I was just talking about this with one of my coworkers. It was just the first decision you make is not always the best, right? Like take a step back, reanalyze, and then think about what you're going to do. Because sometimes you react in a specific way because of just the moment. It's it can be too much for you at that time. So sometimes taking a step back from that, thinking about it, and then come up with a better, another idea. Now, if you come up with the same idea, maybe it was the right one. But most of the time, when you react, I call it the shotgun approach, and you just boom, just start, doing whatever. It could always end up coming back and blowing in your face.
That's been my experience. I mean, it's I'm emotional, so I
Yeah.
think sometimes my responses are emotional, and we as human beings we are. But sometimes I got to step back and think of what that person said to me or what it was, and take a little bit of the emotion out of it, understand what's being said to me, and then wrap my emotions around that. and
Sure.
create the appropriate response. You know, I mean, especially now I'm married again, and I'm doing things a lot differently because I know what my failures were in the past, right? I can see those. It took a lot of growth. I mean, it's a lot of humbling yourself and being like, hey, you're just as much as the issue as the other person. It's not a one-way street. So doing this and listening to what she says now when we have arguments, you're going to argue. There's
Shit is going to happen, dude.
We're never going to agree 100%, and it's okay. So,
For real.
trying to actually listen, you know. And you said this in a podcast. I listened to your podcast, and you're like, when you were doing this, and talking to people, is listening, actually listening to what people say, and then having a response to it, not just waiting for that person to stop talking, so that
Sure.
you can say your part. Because then you're not hearing them, and you're
Right.
just kind of being a piece of shit. Like,
Right, and
Listen.
that's what the format does. It teaches you that. You don't think about that. You never thought about that before. I mean, I can't tell you how many countless fucking times I've been at the bar, and I've been talking to somebody, and there's a moment where I'm like, "Am I even fucking listening?" Like, because you know, I'll be doing my own thing, which, you know, you're at a bar drinking. Sometimes you don't want to talk to anybody. Sometimes you do. Sometimes you talk to everybody. But there's moments you think about that, and like this is a perfect example. Like, you know, when I'm in this mode or in this session or in this kind of environment, you're kind of forced to. You know, you're forced to talk and listen and hear somebody out before you make your, you know, before you give an opinion or before you give feedback or whatnot. You actually have the opportunity to go, okay, I can absorb this information, and I could think of something, or maybe I could provide or respond with something that may either work or not work with it, or maybe I can agree to disagree. You know. But at least you're giving the individual an opportunity to present their case, right? To say how they feel. You know, I've had, you know, so far on the podcast, I've had about 3 or 4 people in the last, you know, last month or so where, you know, they were able to state how they feel about stuff, and then we agreed, and some of the things I didn't necessarily agree with. But I still heard them out. I still appreciated them sharing the ideas and sharing how they feel. And some of them actually really agreed with. Like, I was like, oh, that's a really good point. I never really took that into consideration. Maybe next time when I'm presented with that, or, you know, I have an opportunity to better myself in some way, I'll utilize that as a tool for me to be better. And I think it's really interesting that you brought up men who are sensitive, because one of the things that I wanted to address first and foremost was the slap heard around the world.
he kind of stole a page out of my book. I'm just going to...
God, no,
I invented that in 2015.
That shit. I'm sorry if you guys don't know what we're talking about, so we can analyze this. So years and years ago, we'd go to Aftershock every year. Matter of fact, it wasn't even that. It was just we used to hang out, and one of the things
it was actually the first Aftershock we met each other. We had only known each other for probably 24 hours.
Probably. Yeah, you're right. That's why. So
our bond ship became over burritos and coffee.
Right. You didn't believe me. So long story short was basically the slap heard around the world for us is when he struck Tyler in the face, and they became best friends after that. I recall you guys like going off into a food truck and hanging out.
Bacon Mania,
I didn't even know Carl at the time. I was like, who the fuck? I was like, hey, I don't know. They're just being weird. And then next thing you know, next morning you're like, hey, you mentioned something about like you ain't gonna find shit about, you know, breakfast burritos, because that was back in it wasn't Gibson Ranch. It was
we were camping.
Yeah.
It was a 2-day festival, but it was a 3-day stay because we got there Friday
for sure. Yeah,
and then we Friday there was a Coors Light. Yours was not warm. Yours was not cold. Mine was, and so we swapped because I think I was drinking whiskey. And I think the next morning I was hungover and just being a douchebag. And I was like, I bet you can't get coffee and burritos.
Watch me.
Yeah, and some bitch comes back 45 minutes with coffee and burritos.
I remember that, like, to the point where you're like, this motherfucker brought back burritos.
Yeah, respect.
Where the fuck did you find these? I'm like, I told you guys I'd find some shit. I walked all the way across the entire campground. Like, literally this one spot, because how you had it, you had to walk up, and then they had this track, this walkway across, and then that's where the coffee was. And you had to keep on going until you got to the edge of that campsite. And along the edge, there's a little tiny tent that was making breakfast stuff. And I was like, you guys are the man. How much? He's like, oh, they're $8 each. I'm like, give me 5. I was like, give me 6 of those motherfuckers. And I remember I brought him back.
Come back munching, dude. You had coffee and you were smashing. I was like, my mouth actually dropped. I mean, I probably didn't, but the feeling I had was like, he did it.
Fuck yeah, I did
he
it.
did it. I
It's like
was
I
like,
found that
it's like
shit.
a round of applause. You know, I'm like, oh my god,
yes.
okay, man, he's the real
Fuck
deal.
yes.
He's, I was like, oh, okay.
Fuck yes.
But that then led into us all then hanging out for the rest of the weekend and enjoying music, which
Yeah.
is that's our friendship, right?
God,
that's how we.
That was such a horrible place to sleep, though. All I remember is just
was.
you guys had the truck. Thank Jesus, you guys. I mean, did you guys still sleep in a tent?
We had a tent. We glammed it up. We had a little blow up
Jesus.
mattress and everything like that.
Yeah, you were right,
But
yeah.
by the time I woke up this morning, it was dead air. But I think we're getting a little sidetracked.
Yeah.
We got to go back to the slap.
Sorry.
yeah.
Anyway, so the slap around role, obviously, Will Smith and the Chris Rock thing happened, and my first take was I know I sat down here and actually my roommate and I were talking about it a little bit. We were a little inebriated actually, and we were talking about how the emotions flare and how you respond. Now, I don't know if you got to see the actual video or actually heard about it or dug into it a little bit.
I've watched all the different views now, so everybody has the view from behind, the view that the uncensored. I've seen enough.
I guess the only reason why I want to address something like that, one, is a hot topic, and two, it's one of those things where being a fan of comics and being a fan of that, you have to understand like the world, I guess, that they play in. They play in a world where they're constantly testing boundaries and they're not. In my opinion, they're not. They're gonna get you where you least expect it, or where you're most tender, dude. They're gonna say shit like that, and I don't think it's because they're trying to annoy you or frustrate you. I think it's more or less just like to get a laugh, like to just kind of like, it's like cringe comedy. Sometimes there's those guys who go out there and they say some shit. You're like, damn, that's some fucking dark shit, but it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like it's. Obviously, there's things you don't want to touch on. There's things you make mistakes on, like Ari Shaffir when he made the Kobe joke or whatever the fuck. That was like one of those moments where he's like, maybe you should have done that because it was a little soon and it was a little fucked up. And I can agree to that. But like, one, in my opinion, this is just me, it was a very, very, very easy joke. It wasn't even that bad of a joke. I mean, I think the response is like, I guess if you know more about the situation between Will Smith and his wife, you would think, okay, like, why did he react that way after he laughed at the joke initially and then got up and did something?
Both of them, by the way.
And
at different times.
And I guess in my own head, like when I figure this, when I think about it, is one, what drove him to like to do something like that on national television, and then there's no. Where's security at, dude? When a person gets up on the stage at the Oscars, like the first thing, why was this not a thing? Like, why are we just like, okay, cool, because he's an actor and he's famous, he can just get up there and do whatever he wants. That's one thing I think, in my opinion, that kind of I think about. And then two, you struck somebody, like legitimately hit somebody in front of everybody, and it's filmed, it's national television, and it's okay. Or I shouldn't say it's okay. It's gonna just go unpunished. Now, Chris Rock being the guy he is,
If I on video, if there was something and I just did that to you, you know how much outrage there'd be.
Jesus Christ!
If we were relevant, I'm just saying, I'm getting what you're saying.
My point though is that like there's, if it had been, different circumstances, even then, I won't even play that game. Another individual got up and hit another individual on national television over probably a really not even a bad joke. Like not even if you were to put jokes from a scale of 1 to 10, that's probably a 2. Like it wasn't even that good of a joke in reference to like a damaging. Yeah. I have watched literally, what's the guy's name? The fucking the guy who's what the fuck's his name? He tells that he's got great timing. I just fucking brought him up the other day. I watch him all the time. He does this shit where he does jokes like so he'll say things like you'll probably know who he is if I say the joke. He's like, I had a neighbor that came by my house every day, and he suffered from Alzheimer's, and he would knock on my door and he'd ask where his wife was, and I loved the joy I had in my eyes when I told him she died, because the smile that lit up his face every time I told. It's like something like that. Like, I'm not as good at a joke, but I remember he would tell these cringy jokes, and it's killing me that I can't remember.
Is he the one that does the drunk girl skit too?
No, that's Chris D'Elia.
Okay, yeah.
So the one I'm thinking
you're
of,
talking about.
I know it sounds really bad, but he doesn't. I can't think of his name off the top of my head right now, but that shit is fucked up. He'll tell jokes about like first of all he tells a joke about Eric Clapton's song, Tears in Heaven? Is that no, it's not Tears in Heaven. What's the song I'm thinking of?
Eric
What,
Clapton.
he wrote the song.
Skyway. Or,
No, he wrote the
Stairway.
one-
Stairway to Heaven.
No, that's
No.
fucking. Are you kidding me?
I don't know what you're
That's
talking about.
Led Zeppelin.
That is
No. It's the song he wrote about his child that died.
There's multiple versions of that, aren't there?
No, there's not. See, this is how terrible we are, ladies and gentlemen. We can't think of one fucking
it's-
song.
Well, I mean, you're getting
But
off
anyways,
the beaten path.
I'm
here.
sorry. My point though is that comedy in itself, like, it's meant to be taken as a joke. Like, let it go. Now, is it healthy to laugh at yourself sometimes? Like, yeah, fucking just laugh at it. Like, okay, there are times to be upset and times to just let it go. You're at the Oscars, okay? I don't know how the Oscars. I'm not a fucking world famous actor. I don't know how hard. I mean, I can see how, if you're working at, you spent your whole life to get to this point, you're gonna have to go for an Oscar. It's fine. But I guess in my opinion, what bugs me the most is that after he clapped and laughed at the joke, he got up and then did what he did. And I think there's something wrong with it. I think there's something wrong with that. You accepted the joke as a joke, and then after probably some kind of outside influence, got up and went and did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's questionable. I think the apology too was a little interesting because it was just it was an advocate of love. Excuse me, an advocate of projection of love, of being a vessel of love, and then but not what I didn't watch it, but I'm guessing 35 minutes beforehand you slap 40 minutes, doesn't matter.
Whatever.
Yeah,
exactly.
It appeared to me that it looked like it was going to be a skit, like Will Smith was walking up and Chris Rock leaned forward to hear what he was going to say, not knowing he was about ready to get a hand across,
Or slap.
Yeah,
excuse
slap.
me.
Even the way he hit him though that's a lot. Okay, slap, punch, whatever. It's disrespect. Especially a man. Okay, so we go back to. I know gender roles is really becoming a thing of the past, but a man slapping a man is big, huge.
Yeah.
I mean, I slap Tyler and we mess around. We get each other back and we have to call and stuff like that. It's kind of like a little dumb thing we do. But between two men, especially after a joke about your wife, that's crazy. Like, you just don't go and slap men, not without there being. You have to give the guy composure or respect for having the composure he had after getting slapped on live TV, and then getting cussed out at. And I think a ball joke. I mean, if because she has a disease, I forget the name of what it was. But she, I mean, I don't grow hair. I'm the advocate of ball jokes. So, but maybe people do that. Jokes are about that. We pick on the shortcomings of people, and it's usually just our friends or people we feel comfortable enough with, right? You're in a room of the elite. They always say, right? The elite. You know that you're going to, at some point, be the subject of a joke. You have Chris Rock. His whole career has been making fun of cracking jokes.
That's what he does.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and then to try to portray this thing that I'm sorry, and so I think it ties into what this whole topic was that, and this is, if you go on the internet and you read. What is Will Smith's mental state? I don't know. I wouldn't, whatever. I don't know what acting does, especially if it was a kid, right?
Sure.
You're the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You start very young in the acting world. You go on, you become this big blockbuster movie star.
Sure.
You're selling, your movies are millions of dollars, right? But then you become the star that's not really getting it done anymore. Then you have this thing where your wife just came out and that, they were on a separation, but your wife.
That was ugly.
Yeah,
that was ugly.
you now have to be in the spotlight of.
Some of the shit she said was like, what the fuck?
So, and then we're coming out of 2020 where, 2019, 2020, and 2021 where we just all have been dealing with this shit.
Yeah.
We all have. I mean, so it's like this thing that was the instability so much that he just lashed out in the moment that he's, again, projecting. I did it to you. And there was a scenario that we went out drinking and stuff, and I projected a lot of anger onto you that was for somebody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, is that something we're witnessing? Is that something where the joke actually wasn't bad at all? Everybody probably thought it was funny, but all of a sudden he just, snapped.
Right.
You know, and then all of a sudden, once he did the actions, once he had time to cool down, realizing, oh wow, I stepped out of my lane.
Yeah.
Like I really did something wrong here.
It's that first initial reaction, man. It's that approach. And unfortunately, the downside to the situation, I guess, for Will Smith here is, like, obviously you're going to have the naysayers and the ones who are going to carry this on forever and ever and never let it go. But more or less, what I think about when this kind of situation happens is it put a lot of blanket on the whole evening for the rest of the individuals. So, for instance, the individuals who had to experience that, and then now no one's going to think about the winners that year. No one's going to think about, like, what that year. I'm not going to think that he won Best Actor. Now, because he did it and he won Best Actor, it's going to be like a thing. They're going to make, oh my God, they're going to make so many skits in SNL. It's going to be ridiculous.
Did you watch a movie? I don't even know what movie. I had to research
It's
which
called
movie
The King. I think it's called The King or something like that.
I'm a little out of touch on some of that stuff.
Here's the thing. I stopped watching films a long time ago. I wait till it comes out to a form where I can watch it, and I just honestly, I think it was the year that I used to watch movies avidly, like that was my thing, but I don't do it anymore because, one, it's just the time thing, and then two, in my opinion, like the quality of films that I watch now, or I shouldn't say that I watch, the quality of films that come out now, it's like almost kind of like rushed in a way. It's not like, but I remember before, like, you wouldn't get trailers, and like, you would hear about movies coming out for like 3 years, and then they'd finally come out. You'd see a trailer and come out like 9 months later or 12 months later, right?
Yeah, you're hyped.
Now it's like, oh, you have people who know the research. Oh, when it's going to come out, the exact release date, everything. It's not fun anymore. You don't know. You know what I mean? There's too much. There's people who their entire job is just to report on when shit's going to happen.
You're like, you're channeling your inner kid right now, right?
Yeah,
when
it
you
just drives me
for me,
nuts.
when it just be like, you call, there's a hotline you would call to get movie times, right? And so then you would like go.
Hello,
to
you've called movie phone.
Yeah, and you go to my grandparents. Be
Please
like, hey,
enter the first 3 letters of the movie you'd like to see.
12:45. That movie's on. Can we go? I'm guilty. I'm actually guilty of this because I'm a hype boy, and so I like to see what's going to come out. I want to do that. I actually will spoil movies for myself just because I'm kind of curious on what's going on with it. I'll still watch them,
You look at this. What do you mean, like, when you say spoil it? Do you mean you like look things up on it, or how?
I'll see what direction they're gonna go, and so I like to create this narrative in my head, and then go watch and be like, wow, I was way wrong, because I don't really like reading reviews. I feel like some people just they review this movie, and I think that's the way it's gonna be, and I watch them, like, I don't know what movie they watched. So again, reviews are really tough.
Sure.
Because I'm not, my mindset isn't that person, right? I actually go to movies to turn my brain off.
Sure.
I go to unwind, right? So even if it's a cheesy, dumb, I know. Look, if I'm going to go watch Transformers, I know that Optimus Prime is not going to accept an Oscar. I know that I'm watching a Michael Bay explosion.
The bear almost got one for fucking.
Yeah. So there's going to be explosions. There's going to be fart jokes. There's going to be all this stuff. I'm okay with that because I just want to just go watch something mindless. You know, there's so much this thing about stories, and some movies you do need a story, and that's fine. A story is important. But I'm also A-okay with just mindless entertainment because I want to get away from the day a little bit,
Yeah.
But I also will read spoilers because I want to know, do I want to go to the theater to experience this, or do I just want to wait at home and just wait? Because the movie experience now is just getting ridiculous. I mean, we went to the movies when COVID was still there.
Yeah.
And it was really nice because no one sat behind you.
Yeah.
No one sat next to you. No one in front of you.
It was nice.
Oh, it was
nice.
Sweet. And then we went back again, Eric and I, we went back and watched another movie, and it was like, fuck
Packed.
COVID, and everything's packed. And I don't know what people's issues are, but you have 20 minutes of previews, but it's only when the movie starts does everybody have to open their bags, take a drink of soda, chomp on stuff. I'm like, you had 15 minutes of preparation, and you decided to choose the minute the movie started, right? That's what we're doing here.
I know. It's one of my biggest pet peeves. When I was growing up, my first job was working at Brendan Theaters here, and I got to be honest, man. It was it was a cool experience when I was young because then I got we got sneak peeks and shit like that. But then at the same time, man, it ruined like going to the fucking movies. I know my friends would always ask, "Hey, man, do you want to go watch a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm down." And a couple times I would go do it, but then I just would think, like this is just like people were talking. And I remember when I became a manager there, And every time I would go to the movie, there'd be someone either talking or bugging or doing something where it would annoy me and ruin my experience. Because I dealt with it so much. I recall this one time my brother and I went to go see a movie, and I was a manager at that point, and these kids were talking, right? And I brought my brother in, we're sitting there, and I had my Brennan Theaters jacket that my boss bought for me. It had management on it, it had my name and all that stuff. And I was like, and I remember I was sitting there, my brother's like, dude, these guys won't shut up. And I was like, if they keep going, I'm going to get up. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just wait, you'll see. He's like, okay. So they kept going. So I got up, put my jacket on, and it wasn't because I got sick of it, right? So I put my jacket on, and they were young kids. I think I was only 19 at the time, or maybe 18. Got up, walked all the way across. Like I made it clear, like I had my jacket on. I wanted them to see me walk across. I walked all the way across, walked up, walked over, right. And I'm like, "Hey guys, doing today?" And they looked at me. I was like, "Listen, guys, you got two options. One, you guys can respect us and give us our time to watch the movie, or two, I can have you guys escorted out. So you guys are gonna decide. Are you gonna be quiet, or are you gonna leave?" And they looked at me like, "We'll be quiet, sir. We're sorry." It's like, "Thanks, man. I appreciate you." And I went back down and sat down. They didn't make another fucking sound. Like, because it was just one of those moments. I sat down. My brother's like, fucking boss, bro. But it wasn't like I was trying to prove anything. It was more or less me just like going like, just shut up,
I'm just
man.
fed up, bro.
Like, let me enjoy this. And so the problem is that now I'll go see a movie. It's fine. But like, I'll go see like late showings and stuff, or I'll go see it when it's way past its like prime time.
Yeah, because
I'll
that's a good
never
time
go
to do
see a fucking like the last movie I went and saw when it first came out was like Dark Knight. Like
that's a long time, man.
A long time. I mean, like maybe another one. I can't recall one that was like that level.
Yeah.
I remember I got a phone call when I was working for Brendan. I got a phone call when Iron Man first came out. I got a phone call at like 2 or 3 a.m. My guy was like, "Hey, dude, we got it. It's all spliced and ready to go. We got to sneak you down." And I'm like, "Fuck yeah, I'm down." So I showed up at 3 o'clock with like 3 other guys. We watched Iron Man. No one else had watched it yet. So we were like, all right, we're going to watch Iron Man.
You're like, yes.
And that was like one of the first Marvels too. That's why it was such a big deal. Because I think that the only one of the Marvel before that was Spawn.
No, Spawn's something different, like Dark Comics. Or, is it, I think it's a part of
Marvel. I'm pretty sure.
Is it? No,
I think it is. We can
look that up. I know that his name's Seth something or whatever, or Todd, whatever. He's got a McFarlane, some weird name. Well, it originated, started with the Hulk, but the Hulk was actually owned, I think, the rights to the Hulk was owned by Paramount. So, the Incredible Hulk. Do you remember that movie?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That started,
Where
and then Iron Man came.
Well, it's funny because the name of the actor that played him was exactly similar to the name of the actual character.
Yeah. It was. You're actually right.
Yeah.
See? DC Action Comics.
Oh, you're right. He is.
Yeah.
Look at that.
The only reason why I know this is because as a kid, I loved these action figures, and I loved.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
this is
Spawn
again.
was a
this is something that you're not supposed to do as a parent for a kid at my age. We used to have something called the black box. Are you familiar with that? Mm-hmm. So there was a big time when AT&T was bought out by Pac-Bell, which became.
I know what you're talking about.
And then there was free pay-per-views and free every movie channels. But then there's also the black box that unscrambled everything.
I'll get you a beer. Yeah. I got you.
And so I was able to get every pay-per-view and every HBO. And that was when I learned about real sex as a kid and. Softcore porn and all the other things you're not supposed to know about, but Spawn was on there, and that was a very dark comic at that time. This was 90. This has got to be 94, 95. It doesn't. The time frame is whatever, but at this time, I was born in 85. I'm watching this stuff at 94, 95, right?
Yeah.
And look, just disclaimer here: my parents are awesome. I had a fine childhood. I grew up fine. I probably was exposed to things a little bit earlier than one should have been, but I turned out fine. But this was my this is something I love, and so I got so enamored by it that I had my parents. I remember doing spelling tests, and I'd come home, and as long as my parents, my dad's like, "Hey, as long as you keep getting A's on these spelling tests, we'll go to Toys R Us and we'll buy an action figure every Friday." And I'd walk home, and I'd come running my ass, running. I was a fat kid, and so running was tough for me. And I'd come with the A, and we'd go by.
So technically does not. I was listening. I'm sorry to interrupt. It technically does not belong to either Marvel or DC. In fact, contrary to Mark's really incorrect answers you receive, it does not belong to Image either. Spawn probably belongs to Todd McFarlane, who published through Image. Technically, he belongs to Todd. Yeah. So it's not a specific title tied to That's probably why everyone loved that fucking thing so much.
It's dark. It's gritty.
Bro,
it's,
the 1997 one was fucking badass.
Yeah, my dad took me to theaters to watch it. No,
Michael
I
J.
went to a
Michael J.
drive-in.
White played him,
Yeah.
and Michael J. White's a gangster, bro. He is a legitimate martial artist, bro.
I remember with my dad. Me and my dad loaded up on food and all this, and drove into the drive-in, and I watched it at the drive-in, and I was just so. I mean, that was one thing. My dad. So my dad never. He didn't go to movies. I went to 3 movies with my dad. It was Spawn, Twister, and the first X-Men.
Fucking Twister, bro.
Yeah, we went as a family. That was rare. I know.
That's a
say,
good
hey,
movie.
we
I
had
like
a good
that
family.
movie.
I keep saying disclaimer, good family, but we were just very different dynamic family. You know, only child, just a different dynamic. But you know, that was knowing that was just one of my favorite things as a kid. You know, I was really big into loved action figures. You know, when I was so back to like mental health stuff and men shit, right? You know how many times my grandpa called me that I said playing with dolls? I'm like, they're not freaking dolls,
Action
man.
figures.
They're action figures. Do you see how cool these are? Do you see that's a doll? But you know, they're dolls, whatever. But I would have such a huge collection. Like I would just get these stuff, and then I got really big into wrestling, so I have that kind of stuff. And I just always have this stuff. But
Okay.
when you're an only child, you have to entertain yourself.
Yeah. No.
I
I get that.
That became.
I did models. Gundam Wing was my thing.
I got into that stuff too, but you have
Gundam.
to find a way, the outlet to entertain yourself, right? So it was a lot of creating these almost plays with these things that reenactment and all this
Sure.
stuff, you know. So, but yeah, that was one of my favorites as a kid, Spawn. And if you look at the illustrations that guy did, just the artwork he did, that was really good too.
It's pretty. That's the one thing I always try to get into is comic books, and I never had the opportunity. I guess it's just outside of my time, so to speak, with me, because like I grew up in the 2000s. That's when I call growing up, because like 90 to 2000. I was just a kid that time. I didn't really do a whole lot. It was more like trading card games and PC shit. I guess when I was like 12 to actually like 18 is when I was like probably into my PC time, where I didn't read comic books or anything like that. I played Steam, I played Counter-Strike, I played Warcraft 3, original Warcraft. Like that was the whole thing. I was a PC person.
Yeah.
I love PC. I was like I was always gaming like that. My dad built my first computer. It was really cool. I loved playing it. But I never got into comic books. I never got into that kind of style. And now
I didn't either. So I kind of grew up when you would go to record stores. Not to cut you off, I apologize, but when there was record stores, we'd actually go to CDs and buy CDs, and you would have comic books, and there would be new editions, and they would have these releases. You know, for some reason, it just didn't connect to me. I don't know why. I was more of a visual person, needed to be hands-on. Computers, again, that was something that connected with me, but I
Sure.
think that's because it's
But our
active.
thing, I guess our thing. I say our thing because my brother and I were really big into DBZ. That's Dragon Ball Z, if anybody's wondering. But we were big on DBZ and I was more or less I was more into Dragon Ball Z than I was into Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball GT or Dragon Ball Kai, whatever the fuck they have now. They have Super and all that shit now. But
There's so many.
I remember as a kid going over to the coast, or it was called West. I think it was called the Coast, and buying the brand new VHSs of, and you had 3 episodes per VHS, and then. So when you put the VHS things, they had a little sleeve they go into. When you put them in a line on your dresser or whatever, they formed a picture, and that picture was a picture of the saga. So like, I think I had the entire first. I think I had the first Saiyan saga, and then I started to go into Frieza, and then I realized like, that's way too much fucking VHSs to do it, because like it builds a whole picture.
Yeah.
But the funny part was I was looking it up. The fight scene between Frieza and Goku is the longest ever running fight scene in anime history. Did you know that?
No. So I didn't really watch. So
Bro.
I didn't watch it, but I
You're
know,
going to learn today.
I do know that
This is insane when I found this out.
length of fight scenes is huge when it comes to anything cinema or film.
So check this out.
See, I think it's crazy because when this was big, I think
19 episodes, okay?
they fought for 19 episodes.
19 episodes, okay? With an entire, like this is ranked as one of the highest, okay? So completely, let's just see how long it was hours-wise. Was that 30 minutes an episode?
Again, I didn't watch it, so I can't.
It's the
confirm.
longest ever. Like 87 to 105. Infamy is the longest fight in anime history.
Is this fight kind of like when you first discover masturbation and you just
Fucking
go for it
just
for the
go for
longest
it,
time
dude.
ever until you realize that you got to stop?
And it lists everything. It's pretty It's pretty crazy. Now I'm sure I'm sure someone probably beat it by now, but in my opinion, it's the longest fight. I mean, fucking Jesus.
No, you just got on Wiki, which knows everything. Wiki knows everything.
Right. That's it. Fuck it. It won. But I remember watching it, and I went, "Oh my!" I remember watching. I watched that bitch on Toonami. I remember getting that, and it was on late. So I remember watching each episode and being like, "Is this ever gonna fucking end?" Because it's like he gets better, then he gets better, then he gets better, then he loses, and then he wins, and he comes back, and then he dies, and then it's like, bro, somebody fucking die already. Like at this point, we know you can wish him back with the Dragon Balls. Jesus Christ,
just end it, please. Someone has to end it. It's crazy that so that's something because for me, I don't. Are you old enough to have the Saturday morning cartoons and the cartoons after 3:30 to 4:30? So the Amazing Spider-Man, X-Men, Power Rangers, the Great Green Ranger saga that was just defined the whole thing. And we all love Tommy, but God damn it, Tommy, can you just stop fucking him up? We like you, but that's how mine was, and I never got into animation. That just wasn't. I think. Really, that wasn't my age. So I'm 37. You're
There's only 32. Dragon Ball Z for me. So
32, 33. I don't know. 31. Okay, we're not that much difference, but there is. It's amazing how much a difference and what. For me, as a kid, wrestling was at its highest. That's when it was. I fucking love wrestling. It was when it was posting its highest ratings.
I think it was between 1998 when I was 8 years old to 10.
Getting written up at school because I'm crotch shopping. I'm putting people in sharpshooters.
N64. I was playing all the games.
Huge.
I thought it was like the coolest thing in the world, man.
Disrespect your boss,
Hogan, right? Stone Cold Steve Austin, all those guys. I don't remember that much of Hulk Hogan. I do remember The Rock because that was kind of like my time. Stone Cold Steve Austin was probably the one that I knew the most, just because of his 316 and all that shit. I remember.
Yeah, mine was the. So I was beginning of when DX and was crazy and NWO stuff was there, right? And we would go to shows. I had a cousin, and God rest his soul, and he passed. Him and I were just big wrestling fans. My dad and him and his dad were their family, not biological, but family. This is a cousin, and this would be my uncle. Okay. And we'd go to these events, and look, wrestling is hilarious, right? Because it's the only thing that you can watch. It's completely scripted. It's a story. But it's the only thing you watch and get made fun of. But somebody can literally put Star Wars tattoos on their arm, and they're like, you're cool. But you watch a guy in spandex, fake slap somebody else, and they're like, you homo. And I was like, we're all just watching entertainment here. But as a kid, I was sitting there going, it was so fun, and when you went to it live, it was so the environment, right? So they and everybody
there's a lot of energy.
It reminds me. Insane. It reminds me of like going to concerts, right? The first and foremost, and this is what I love about concerts, and I don't understand why people fight at concerts. It blows my mind, And you and I know that us being together, sometimes every time we get back, someone wants to. Are we the tallest guy in the room? Maybe they want to fight us. I don't know what. We walk up with positive vibes, burritos, and beers in our hands, and we got people who want to throw down in the hallway.
That's very true.
But, I look at it as rock and roll. When you go to a concert, everybody there is watching the same thing you're watching. Why are we angry? Yeah. We are enjoying this together. You go to one of those events, and it's the same thing, doing stuff, and it's just this environment together, and it's fun, And to me, it's just an expression of art. Much like how film is and stuff like that, and you just enjoy it. So as a kid, it was kind of one of those things I watched that it was bigger than life, right? And I was like, oh God, I wish I could do that. I wish I could go, be in front of millions of people just cheering me on, and and I always said, hey, if you want to pay me millions of dollars to do it, it's fake, but I mean they're athletic.
Oh no, without a doubt. There's a lot that goes into that.
It's
I don't care what you got to say.
It's athletic. I respect all. I'm a sports. I love UFC. I don't follow it as hard as you do. So names and stuff like that, I will never. I couldn't follow you when you start dropping names.
Don't feel bad. The last podcast I did, I forgot a name of somebody. I was like, I'm balls deep in this, and then I forgot a fucking name. So it happens.
Anything that someone is athletic or that has to do with like being fit and sports oriented or just whatever, I'm into. I just really, and I wasn't as a kid. I was the observer, right? Okay. I'd watch and fantasize and kind of wanted to do it, but didn't have. I don't know why I didn't do it. Like I look back and go.
I call it the will of the skill.
Yeah, I just jump in there.
Will of the skill.
Get it going. Never did.
Do you have the will to want it, or do you have the skill to be able to do it?
Scared. Too nervous. Too scared. Too much of a failure. Right? Didn't want to fail at anything.
Yeah, well,
that's a tough one. You have to.
Failure's the recipe for success, and that's kind of the way mentality you have to have. I can tell you personally, like, what was it? What was it? I tried. I did one time. I think I did one time. I did Taekwondo for a while when I was young, and then I stayed around for like it was just jiu-jitsu or something like that. They were rolling on the ground doing shit, and my sensei was like, "Hey, you should stick around and try." I was like, "Fuck that! I don't want to get strangled. Like, I'm cool. I like my neck the way it is." And back then I was super scrawny, and I had this big old long neck that wanted to get choked out. And he's like, "Yeah, just try it out." So, me being like the child I was back then, that's what happened. I got fucking choked out because you don't know better.
Yeah.
But I guess the mentality sometimes is that it's not always the easiest route. It's not always the easiest route that's going to be the best, right? Sometimes you got to take risks because you take risks and things work out. And if they don't work out, they don't work out.
No risk, no reward. It's such a cliche saying, but it really does.
And then the thing is that what happens is that after you push yourself and go to that next level, what you realize then is that you're at a whole different level now. Like your mindset is like, okay, I have to do better than I did before. And it's just like, I've always told people whenever, like, I'm planning on, whenever I plan on doing a show, a podcast, music, whatever that may be in the future, is it's going to happen. A perfect example of what I was talking about doing a podcast is this was an idea that I put together a year ago that I wanted to do. Now, did it take a lot of time? Sure. Is it perfect? No. But there's levels to this, right? You say you're going to do something, you do it. I recall the first time ever doing anything like this, people were like, "What the fuck are you talking about? Like, what's it going to be about? What's this?" And I'm like, you know what, man? I don't know, but it's going to work. I'm going to make it work, right? And that's kind of the mindset, and I use that terminology, will or the skill, because while I didn't always have the skill to do a lot of things, I had the willpower to want to, right? Mm-hmm. I had the ability to go, I want this, and I'm going to go do it. And whether I do good at it or bad, I'm completely okay with sucking at it right away.
You have to fail to succeed.
It's the same thing. It's like when I've gotten jobs in the past where I've told my hiring guy, like, after we talked and I got job offered and all this stuff. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I'm gonna fail. And it's really hard. It's really weird for people to say that, especially sometimes to be like to a boss you just got hired for. I'm like, I'm going to fail, and just want you to know that I'm going to do my best to move forward. Like, you're going to learn. You're going to learn. And it was funny because he's like, I know. He's like, no one comes into this shit and just figures it all out. I know it's going to happen, and, there's a reason why, you are where you are, but, failure is a part of success. That's the secret recipe to success is failure, because you learn, and that's the important thing. And I guess in the long run, I don't know where we're going with this, but I guess in the long run, what I was trying to say was just that sometimes in life, you don't always have to be the best person in the room or the best at everything to be successful. If you want to try something, go out there and try it. If you want to be better at it, then it's going to take work. Yeah, you're going to have to invest yourself in what you want to do to get better. My thing right now is my golf. So I'm trying to work on my golf right now. God, it's a life sucker though. It does suck up a lot of your time. You don't realize it, but at the same time, it's fun to focus on one thing. And I call myself, I have an obsessive personality. So if I like something a lot, I obsess over it, which is a curse. It's a blessing and a curse, Yeah. Because there's sometimes where I'm like, oh fuck, dude, like you literally played fucking 7 rounds of golf in like 6 days. But it's
healthy because it's stimulating your mind, right? So
yeah, and I think or pissing me off, one of the two.
No, and that's okay. Frustration. If you're getting frustration, it's just because you want to do well, right?
Right.
But what we're talking about, because like I said, I didn't do a lot of sports, initial thing was I didn't do a lot of sports because I was scared of failure. And then when I would do them, I would mess up, right? And then I would run away from it.
Be discouraged.
Yeah, and so I did. It took a lot, and it wasn't until probably right when I hit 30 when I started being like, what are you doing with your life? And I stopped.
I think everybody, first of all, Todd, I think everybody asks their fucking question when they're in their 30s. What the fuck? What did I do my whole 20s?
No, that's what I did. But I also was like, hey, I looked at myself physically, mentally, nutrition-wise. I changed my whole diet. When you met me, if you had met me a year before you first met me, I was 240, drinking too much beer, couldn't run anything. And when you met me, I went down to, I was 184 on a full, healthy, nutritious, kind of active lifestyle.
Sure.
Once I started doing that, it started opening my mind to what am I capable? Because I had this dream of always wanting this. I always wanted abs. It's the most superficial thing, okay? But it was.
It's a lot of work.
It was, yeah. And I got them, and I was like, "Holy crap! I can do this!" And so that was my first win of changing my mindset to, "You can," instead of "You can't."
Right.
And I can, so I did that, and then it became this thing of, what else can I do? And so I started to get disillusioned with the restaurant business, and I just felt like I was at my ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to put my name out there and put me out there and see, can I do something else?
Sure.
And so that's when I went to CHB, and I got bounced out. I got bounced out of backgrounds, and I so I'm going to go in a story right now about law enforcement, and I have a big respect for it, and I know the bad name they have and the connotation to it and what people view of them, but I am foremost very pro law enforcement. They have a hard job. Do they have bad people? For sure. Do they have great people? Way more than bad. But the problem is when you're spotlighted all the time.
Yeah, you're gonna remember the bad more.
Yeah,
you could have 10 good guys, and the 11th man is.
Yeah, and that was a venture I wanted to get into, and I got so close, and then I messed up my paperwork. I messed it up, and it made it look like I lied, and they bounced me out. That one hit me hard.
Sure.
That derailed me a little bit, so I had to bring my confidence back up to that, And I applied for the county job, and I'm getting the county job where I run the food nutrition program for the Yuba County Juvenile Hall, or actually it's Tri-County Rehabilitation Campuses. So excuse me, sorry. It's a great job I have. Well, I just applied, and I'm still working out. I'm actually created this new program to try to challenge myself because I was getting complacent.
Right.
And I'm doing more. I just applied for a new job within the county, and it's a deputy sheriff training position, and I have an interview on Thursday. And if I told you I wasn't scared, I'd be lying. I'm nervous as hell. I'm scared. But it's something that I've always had a passion to, and I want to do it, and I'll give that. And the fact that this is in there, and it's happening, and again, it's driving yourself to the direction and having that vision, and having what you want, Yeah. And this is with also the idea of, I love cooking food, but I don't want to make food my primary business because I don't want to hate doing it. There's no guarantee that if I get into this and I become what I actually was looking for, was being part of the law enforcement, that at one point I won't become jaded. You don't know life.
Right.
You can change your trajectory anytime you want. Anytime you want, right? You get in stuff and you think this stuff and you get disillusioned, that's fine. Just know when you need to take yourself out of it. Know when you need to take yourself out of when you're tired or you're angry and you're starting to now be a bad person to the coworkers or to the job, right? Know your limits. But I have to do this to see if I to push myself, and I want to do that with also creating the food. You're not on Facebook a lot, but right now I'm doing this big push of showing items I'm cooking, because the idea for me is that I want to start selling things that I create, because I honestly believe they taste good, and I'm getting good feedback from people. I'm not like cocky. I've been giving trials out because I like feedback. I always say, you're not going to hurt my feelings. If it tastes like shit, tell me it tastes like shit. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Tell me what's going on. When I first got into cooking, I worked in a fine dining restaurant that had an open kitchen, and people would walk up to me and tell me my food was shit. And I was at 18 and 19.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
a big piece of humble pie, right? That's a big thing. Of have a kid who's still unsure of himself being told by an adult, you just fed me shit. You're like, oh, well, okay. Yeah, thank you. What do you do? You just give them thumbs up. You're like, I'll do better.
Yeah,
what I had to do is I had to understand. I had to listen to what the complaints were. You have to filter the noise out.
Sure.
And get to the issue. And what they were saying was things I was doing with it. And I realized that one of them was like I make a soup or something, and it's like there's always this little grainy thing that I eat when I'm doing it. I was like, oh, it would be a bell pepper soup. I realized when you cook bell peppers, they're waxy. The skin pulls off. If you don't roast them beforehand, when you eat it and then you eat it in a soup, it'll stick in your tongue. It's a bad little tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
To make things more.
Yeah, I got a coworker. He used to be a cook. He used to be a chef, and he left that job. He said, man, it was fucking rough sometimes, man. He had a hard time with it, And obviously, he moved on from it, but he would always tell me like, dude, there's some days where it's like I'm by myself and it's fucking like holiday Sunday morning. I'm like,
You're hauling ass.
yeah.
And
There's nothing
people
you
are
can do.
not
There's nothing you
nice.
can do. And right, you're there. You're by yourself. You have call outs. You're there fucking 16 hours. Like,
Little side note, on Christmas when it's like this whole family thing, if you work in food service, people don't give a shit about you. They come in for Christmas dinner and they don't give a fuck that you're working.
they're like whatever.
What's taking so long on my sliced ham? Like seriously, it's just sliced ham. It's like you could totally be at home right now if you wanted to.
Yeah. Did is it Chris, right? Did he ever do that wine or that beer garden?
So no, there were some issues with the building.
Okay.
And
I remember he showed me, and I was just gonna
I-
do a shout out for him real quick.
I'm gonna speak on just enough that I know,
Sure.
and I believe there was an issue with the building, and it had to do with some kind of a gas tank that was below the building.
Oh fuck.
That was pretty much you just don't sign off on the deal. There's probably so much more to it that he has the information, but the gist of it was you can't do it because they can remove the tank, but what's wrong with the soil? What's the stuff that?
Yeah,
it's just
yeah. Did it contaminate the soil? Did it contaminate everything else?
not worth the headache.
That sucks. What a bummer.
He ended up buying
That
the
was
whole.
really cool though.
He ended up buying the whole building though, and now he's going to open up a little patio area right off where the Viking is. So when you
Sure.
look at the Viking, right?
Right.
When you look at the Viking, and there's a it used to be called Jerry Stereo, little side there. He's going to convert that, and he's got the whole Rocky area in there. So he's got big plans.
Okay.
He's expanding. The dude got his stuff together, and
If you guys
he's
don't-
rocking and rolling.
By the way, guys, if you don't know what we're talking about here, we're talking about the Happy Viking in Yuba City, California. So if you guys ever want to go out there, I will say this
I believe
first.
it's 741 Plymouth Street in downtown Yuba City.
Yeah, dude.
Beautiful downtown Yuba City.
Todd here is a former cook there. He used to run that shit. But I remember going there, and I tell you what, guys, man, when I tell you that they make wings, man, they make fucking wings.
Little side note: they just upgraded their wing system to it's the baddest.
Wait,
wing
so you're
system.
saying that the system you had was fucked, and now they have a way better system?
No, it was inefficient at the volume, right? It was
Okay.
normal fryers and stuff like that. The way they do their wings. I mean, they hand bread wings. The sauces are all made in hand, like
I was
in-house.
gonna say
You
yeah.
can't beat the sauces,
I got
right?
fucked up on the hot sauces
Yeah.
there. I fucked up when I did.
But now they got this new frying system that is top of the line. It's like I don't even know how to
Industrial?
equate it.
Like what is it? Like I don't know what he's saying.
No, it fries them so beautifully at the
Oh.
right time. It has its own thing. It filters
But
its own
doesn't
oil.
that- hold on.
No. It will do its own oil. It will run through the whole system of straining the oil out.
Really?
And actually
Wow,
filtering
that's
its
impressive.
own oil.
That's impressive.
Bring the oil back in, and I'm going to be quoted wrong here, and it's fine.
Sure,
we're
I'm
talking
sure
like
Chris-
we're talking like
So
2
Chris
minutes
will
down.
call you after he watches
2 minutes
this
down.
shit.
No, 2 minutes of downtime. So in the middle of service, all of a sudden you realize the oil's still getting a little rough. Bam! Hit the button. 2 minutes, you're back up and running. You got
Oh
brand new
my
fresh
God.
oil.
That is fresh.
Yeah,
That is
and
no pun
the way
intended.
they're
That's
frying
fresh.
it now. I mean, dude, I'm a fanboy.
That's pretty cool.
I'm a fanboy.
You used to cook. That
Yeah,
makes sense
yeah,
for you,
but
bro.
It's just it was what they needed for the volume they're doing.
Oh
and
my
the
God.
system.
Dude, I remember going there on a fucking Sunday during Sunday football, man, and it was fucking just insane.
Little side note, do you have chips?
I don't think I have any chips.
You didn't pick up chips into the store?
No, I didn't buy any chips, man.
Oh.
I was gonna order pizza.
Well, I brought some tasty things for you to try.
Right now.
Well, yeah, I have to do it on air. Yeah, one of them's really hot, so I just want to see what the hell happens to you.
I don't want to. I don't want to die. Like,
You won't die.
no, actually, it's funny you mentioned that because we just cleaned my cabinets out. I had bought the death chip challenge, the one chip challenge from fucking Pocky.
You bought that shit?
I bought it thinking that I would do a podcast with it, and it just sat in my cupboard for like fucking 6 months, and I forgot all about it.
You never did it.
No, I never did it. Thank God. I don't want my colon to get blown out by it. Fuck that.
These are for you to keep.
What are these? Oh shit. Okay, so if for everyone listening
I don't
here,
actually have it.
we got some salsas
yeah,
here.
I don't have a.
They're
official
in
name
some
for any
kind
of
of,
these. These are baby steps. This is pre-production. This is me trying to figure out what the hell I'm going to be.
okay.
So
And then what's the green one here?
this is just it's just a verde sauce,
Verde. Okay.
tomato based,
I love. Yeah, I love.
all roasted, grilled.
Okay.
Everything's grilled. Jalapenos, poblano's, garlic, cilantro. I don't grill the cilantro. That one's
Ooh,
that
that
one's
smells
that one's
so
gonna
good.
hurt you. This is just a
That one's gonna hurt you.
yeah. This is just a little. It's a very basic chunky salsas, but I just think I do it really well. I have a
Is
little
that a pico, like a pico?
like a pico. Yeah, I just have a good
What do
blend that I
you-
do with it.
Okay, what's
So,
your blend?
Do I have to really reveal my secrets?
Okay.
No.
What's-
Look,
what's-
it's basic. It's basic. It is jalapeno, cilantro,
And then a little bit of love.
tomato, a lot of love, a lot of love. For me, it's the appropriate blend of lime and lemon together,
Okay.
and with the salt ratio. And then I use this bad boy right here, which is my. This has
The corn.
I believe this has 7 different peppers in
it
it.
smells delicious.
I have to remember. I know I should know, right? I've been doing it all the time, but yeah, this one has so ghost peppers, habaneros, serranos, jalapenos, cayenne, black pepper,
Blew out the mic there, but whatever.
and it's all those roasted on the grill, and then I will fry roast tomatoes, onions, and garlic. So you're pretty much pulling the whole skin off there,
Dude, that's amazing.
and then blend it together. And then
that smells so good.
it's
that orange
it's
one.
more of a vinegary. So these ones are gonna be
I could
citrusy.
definitely, that's the one.
You're gonna have a vinaigrette. Now I'm gonna grab you a spoon because I'm sorry.
I'm gonna have to try
Yes.
them now. Oh fuck.
But what I need you to do though is I need you to give me a quick little intermission because I need to.
Oh yeah, sure. I can entertain. All you not entertained. All you not entertained. Well, first of all, ladies and gentlemen, I'd just like to say thanks for tuning in and listening tonight. If you guys have any ideas or questions about the podcast, feel free to let me know in the comments. Also, while I got you here, I was going to show you a couple things. Make sure you guys go on my channel. Throw me a subscribe. Throw me some love. Throw me a like, man. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I have such a good time talking to my friends, but I also like knowing that you guys are out there listening and supporting me. So, like I said, I like the feedback. Any feedback you guys have, please let me know. Throw a like. I appreciate you guys. Obviously, the content, all my videos are out here. Please still show some love. Let me know what's going on, guys. Absolutely. But yeah, long story short, guys, it's been fun. I really enjoy it. And he's about to feed me these fucking these hot sauces. I'm kind of glad that there's no camera on me right now. Now that I'm gonna be trying these, he's kind of throwing me for a loop here.
Yeah, I'm a little upset there isn't a camera because this is like advertising.
I'm happy there's no camera. So let's start with I'm gonna start with the lightest.
Yeah.
I'd say that.
So
this
is
probably,
actually these are this would probably be the lightest, but I think that you want
either
to,
way. I want to.
No, I think you should start with this one.
That one,
Then
and
go to
then-
this one, and then finish with that one. 'Cause
Okay, all right.
Just the way the flavor profile goes.
Okay.
You know, like when you do sushi or like
Yeah.
beers or something, you start the wrong. Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna hear you.
Yeah. Okay. You know when you do like sushi or like a beer tasting and you
Beer
go the wrong
tasting.
direction,
Right,
And
and
then you
then-
end up not tasting it. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of
right,
that same.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
start. Let's get nice.
Sorry, this is
little-
my first podcast. I'm trying to learn how to operate.
That's good. That's really good, man.
No,
That's
yeah,
delicious.
Yeah. That's the salsa verde. I can come up with a quick look.
A little kick at the end. It's nice and just.
That's
not-
your. I think that's your. Dude, these are burritos.
Dude,
Eggs.
that is
just
shit.
every single thing you want to put
Yeah,
on.
this is my cheat. Like when I was eating clean back in the day, I should say my cheater was I would just buy a bunch of pico de gallo, but make it hot. So when I put it on my eggs, I can just all I taste is pico. That's
this
it.
right here, even like if you're like diet wise, no issues here.
That's what I'm saying,
This is
like,
literally just nothing.
Homemade. Usually a lot of the homemade
Yeah.
stuff you're not having to worry about that.
These are actually I leave the tomatillos in their actual. I like to try to act like I can say it right, and I butcher it when I say tomatillo, So, but I just keep doing. I just buckle down. I leave in the husk, roast the whole thing down, get it rocking and rolling, and everything's grilled.
Okay.
Yeah, this one's just the run of the mill
Yeah.
chip
Sounds
salsa.
good.
You
Very good.
cool little
I
thing.
like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, a little salty, a little tangy.
This is the colon blower here.
No, screw it back on, please, and shake that sucker up. Yeah,
He's like. You hear that, guys?
yeah.
That's fucking liquid death right there.
It might not be hot. I don't know your tolerance. You can eat hot stuff.
Yeah, I do like hot stuff, so we'll see. We'll see how this goes. All right. Start with a little bit here. Just a little bit. Okay.
It's not that bad.
So it's actually not.
It's not that
Now
bad.
it does have the heat.
Yep.
Now the one thing I initially noticed when I first have it is I like the flavor of it initially. The first initial flavor of it's good. I will get the afterburn here shortly. It's going to come in.
Yeah.
It's coming. But when I think about the initial flavor, it's very, very good.
Yeah. Again, these are all work in progress, and I hand these out to a lot of people asking for feedback.
Yeah, no, I don't. It's mild. Now it does have a little bit of after. Obviously, it's gonna have the afterburn. I think what defines one of the reasons why I like using habaneros a lot in salsa is because I like the flavor of habaneros. Now, when I would do it, I would literally cut off half of it in a giant ass bowl. My friend was an asshole, and he'd cut like all the seeds and everything together and throw it all in.
Oh, that's what this is right here, bad boy.
See, that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
I can taste that part. Now, the difference between, like, have you ever had, okay, here, I'll explain this. When you take a roasted jalapeno, you roast them, sometimes you can almost get them, like, to be as hot as, like, an unroasted habanero if you do it, like, in a certain way, in my opinion. If you get them, like, fresh. My ex-girlfriend dad, see, it's already starting to wear off. Like, this is,
Yeah.
I'm used to hot sauce, so this is just normal for me.
That's
But
again,
I like that.
I
but it's
don't know what you're.
consistent.
Yeah, I do
This is a
disclaimers.
perfect hot sauce for, like, for me, this would be like a perfect hot sauce for, like, God, what would I use this for? I would do like either I do like a street taco or something like that, just enough to give like the edge, you know? I mean, this one over here, the Verde, is also really, really good too. This would be really sweet for carne asada tacos.
Yep.
I would almost want to use this for like a, oh my God, either like pork or chicken or something like that because it's got a lot of flavor to it.
I like to use it for just adding to dishes, like just as a little flavor, like just for a heat content, just enough to kind of
'cause
add to it.
It's good. See, the thing is like I've always liked things that are just at the precipice of like oh my God, I'm going off the edge.
So I didn't know your heat. It's not hot for me, right? But I gave it to somebody one time.
And they fucking almost
Oh
died.
yeah, I felt so bad, and so now I just tell everybody. Like I looked at them, I was
I
like,
like hot stuff. That's
I'm like giving the Heimlich, like oh God, I'm so sorry.
yeah. I did this one. What was it when I went to my friend and I, Tim and I would go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and he got me into like trying hot spicy shit. And he's done like the hot ones challenge, so he has like the bomb, and he has all those ones. And I'm like, fuck that! I don't want to die because it's not fun to eat stuff that hot. Well, he is just he's so balls deep in that stuff that like I think one time he came over and he had like just a jar of it, and it was a scorpion Trinidad sauce.
Oh yep.
He puts it on a sandwich, eats the sandwich, nothing. I mean, like this guy literally is like, ooh, that's pretty good. And I'm like, are you shitting me? What is your colon just like clean all the way down? Like, how the fuck can you just do this, right? And sure enough, I go to pour it, and he took off the flow regulator. Like, he just dumps it. So I go to put it on my McChicken, and it literally just dumps on it. And I go, fuck. So I try to get a napkin, and I'm trying to dab it off.
Pat it off.
Too late. It's already in there. I'm fucked.
Yep.
He's like, just take a bite and go for it. So I took a bite, and I had honestly a hard time swallowing because it was so.
Shocker.
Yeah, I don't know. It was stinging. It was really weird. I've never had a stinging burn. It was like, ow. Like I was chewing it and going, okay. But when it hit my gums and then it started getting my tongue and around my mouth, I was like, oh my God, this is. And I swallowed it and went, oh, I'm going to regret that. And I was like, I can't eat the rest of that. He's like, why? I'm like, I'm in pain. Like, this is not fun. And the only other time I experienced that was when Stars Bowling Alley here in Vacaville, they used to have this thing, a burger called the Fire Breather. And the owner, or the chef used to make this sauce out of habaneros. At least that's what I think it is, because it tastes like straight up habaneros. And he put it on the burger. And we're like, oh, my friend Tim ordered it. You know, and he's like, oh, he's eating it. You know, this is really good. I love this shit. And I told him, I go, oh, come on, give me a piece. Dude, oh my God. I had a bite and I went, this is like the most, I don't want this ever again in my life. It was so hot, Todd, that my skin turned red. my face turned red. I could feel like the inside of my body heating up and boiling.
You're
like
just turning into something different.
Holy shit. And Tim's over here like, oh, this is hella good. I'm loving this. Like he was just like in
Some people,
pure ecstasy.
Some people don't. They, like, do you don't like enjoyment? And they're like, no, I get enjoyed by pain. I'm like, oh, I understand. But yeah, I've had a couple like that. I don't understand the people who can go I love hot stuff, right? So when I first made this one right here.
So you ever gone to like one of those hot conventions where they have like hot food to try or hot sauces?
No, so I haven't.
I've always wanted to try that. Like, it'd be
I
hella
worked
fun.
So like you, I had my job where I was
I know, because it was
every
so
weekends,
difficult to ever come hang out.
go
on weekends.
anywhere, right? And so, and I now have this job where I can do this stuff, right? And I just don't ever think about doing those things. I'm always like, hey, and I'm about ready to switch or try to switch where I won't have that. But yeah, I don't know that. And so there's all these conventions and stuff that I've missed out on that I want to do and I should do. And it's more or less that I look at it and go, it's so crazy. This is what's crazy about it. I still think that I don't have weekends off. I'm still processing, when you do, I did restaurants for 17 years.
Shit, that's a long time.
Okay,
Man.
17 years. So it still registers to me that like I don't have weekends off, and then I have a weekend. I'm like, oh crap, what am I supposed to do? And I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do, dude. And I'm like, dude, just go to these things that are available, right? So I've been hitting farmer markets a lot, and that's where I got the inspiration to start doing. This is stuff I've been doing all the time, but I go there and I see what everybody's growing, and I'm like, oh crap. And so then I got some planter boxes. So I want to start growing my own stuff. And then start making this stuff. And one of the peppers I really want to get down with is the Carolina Reaper. The first time I ever experienced Carolina Reaper,
fuck that.
I didn't even know it was a Reaper. Someone had delivered peppers. I was at the Viking, and they delivered peppers because they know we blend peppers there, right? And they wanted to sell their peppers to us. And it was just this baggie that was pinned to the bulletin board. It was like Todd's name on it. I was like, cool, I got peppers. This says, I don't know what is this? And so I take them down and I was like, I'm going to make lunch with it. And
oh, no.
I'm chopping it, and I'm thinking it's a ghost pepper because I've already been messing with ghost peppers. There's ghost pepper serranos. I've done the Pekins, the Fiends, habanero.
Right. You're familiar with it.
Scorpion pepper. I don't have a great knowledge of. I joined a pepper group. My knowledge of peppers is fucking nothing compared to what this group is. But anyways, I felt pretty good about the idea of identifying a pepper, right? And so I'm cutting this pepper up, and I'm eating this food. And I'm like, fuck, man, some bitch is hot. My hands are hurting. And it's been a long time since I.
Oh, because it was.
So I'm gonna seg off a little bit.
Sure.
First time I ever was in the restaurant business, I went from dishwasher to cook, and I was tasked with prepping jalapenos. And so I cut up a 30-pound box of jalapenos. I didn't wear gloves.
Oh, no.
No one told me. It was like the rite of passage, right? The initiation.
They were just like trying to test you.
Yeah, they're like watching me. And it was all Mexicans, and they're like, haha, white boy, you're about ready to get fucked up. And they were right. And then they invited me out to go drinking, right? And I was like, hell yeah. So but my hands were pink. I was asking for water. I'm hurting so bad. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? And ever since that day, I can cut any pepper, and it would never. But this one got my fingers a little tingly, right? And I guess I had brushed my fucking face, and I was a little tingling. My mouth, and I was like, what the fuck kind of pepper is this right now? I was like, I had never seen a Carolina. It did look a little funky. Now I know why, right? But at the time, I've never seen one. I'm like, what? So I'm in the office. My eyes fucking blown out.
And you're like, oh,
yeah, my
no.
tongue's burning. My hands are on fire. And all I know is like, who's this son of a bitch who left this pepper with my name on here? But I got curious by that. I was like, and then I started researching, and I was like, cool. And so, I mean, they actually have another pepper out now. That I think is the new hottest. It's again, they're all.
Is there a new one?
I think I don't know the name. I might be wrong, but I believe there's a new pepper, and they're all just pepper spliced with each other, right? That's how they start creating them. I actually dated a girl when I was young. Her mom.
Oh shit! Look at this.
Gene cut
Look at
plants.
this motherfucker.
She would create plants off she would figure out how to breed plants.
Okay, this is crazy. Now, according to First We Feast, there's a new world's hottest pepper in town. It's called Pepper X.
Mm-hmm.
Like fucking.
But I think it's
it's like Weapon X.
Yeah,
like from
that's
fucking X-Men.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing now?
Yeah.
3.18 million Scoville units.
I believe it's still based off the Carolina one, but it's
isn't pepper spray like only 400?
Dude, so
isn't the pepper spray?
Yeah, there was at one point I couldn't.
What the fuck?
We had peppers like ground peppers. We ordered ground ghost peppers, right? There was a point where all ground ghost peppers were on FDA hold. You know why? Because they were weaponizing them. They were actually creating them for pepper spray.
Dude, this is so hot. Listen, like this is so hot that if you were to if you were to take this and roast them, put them inside of a blender and mix it up, and the powder blew into your nose, you'd be like fucking like, I think you'd probably kill your sense of smell, dude.
Oh, I believe it.
3.8, 3.18.
Is it based off the habanero? Because I think the Carolina Reaper is
So it
based off the
says,
habanero, right? Am I wrong there? It is.
Measured in Scoville units, jalapeno pepper clocks in, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I always say know that. Which would possibly be extracting. Now, what I'm trying to find here is where it compares to. Because the Trinidad's, the hottest one, ghost pepper is 2.2 million Scoville units.
But how to create this pepper? I believe I believe it's cut with a habanero, right? Because I think that
it has to.
That's what the ghost pepper is.
Yeah. The Dragon's Breath is reportedly even hotter than that because one has got like 2.4 million Scoville units. So that's hotter than the Carolina Reaper.
You know.
So the question I have though is okay. So the question I have though about this is not only is it because like for instance like you know how you can't certain species of animal you can't breed after they get to a certain point, right? It's like the donkey thing or whatever the fuck. Mules, I think it's mules. Mules are infertile. You get because a mule's a donkey and a horse, right? Is that what a mule is?
No, I don't know. But
I think it's a mule.
Okay.
You can't breed the mule. Mules, once you get them to that, that's it. They're
it's too much incession.
infertile. Yeah, they're infertile. So they just basically they can't reproduce. So that's why. But like my point though is like when you say they use like specific habanero peppers to create these peppers, because once you can't get like a fucking scorpion and this, put that together and see what happens. Because I'm sure they.
No, but I think if you create a pepper that's hot
maybe
enough,
that's
you create a pepper that's hot enough, right? And then you maybe combine it with another pepper. It's so crazy how it
sounds terrifying in my opinion. Like, why do we need something hotter?
No.
Like,
at the end of the day,
why?
Why? So you asked me as though here's my question, and I almost responded with why. Just the question should be why. Like, what's like? Do you hate yourself so much? This is what you're like. You're like, I'm just an empty vessel. Let me eat this pepper, and then you feel something for the first time. You're like, yes. This is so good.
Yeah, pepper X though, interesting. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
It just cropped up. I think it was last year.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I am a glutton. I will try it. I will always try everything once.
Yeah,
and I'm cool with that. If it's the worst thing ever, then it's the worst thing ever. But yeah, I'm interested in that stuff. But some of the stuff, it's how much it is per pound to buy that stuff.
I don't even want to know. It's scary,
dude. You got pepper. So you got meat and fish. I went and bought some fish, and I wanted some good sea bass. I bought some sea bass. It was $29 a pound.
Jesus Christ.
There was 2 fillets there. I was eyeballing. I was like, that can't be more than 8 ounces. Nah, for some reason those were exactly 1 pound. I was like, shocker. So $29 to walk out. They were phenomenal. I enjoy it. I always like to splurge, but I stopped going to restaurants for some stuff because I'm just really getting disappointed. And the way things are, I've been preparing myself. I got pictures that I put on Facebook of a badass sea bass that I did with like a tropical pineapple mango salsa.
There you go.
It was really fresh. It was really good. It was cool. But when I start looking at peppers that are almost as much as protein per pound,
that's crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Like,
and that's where the world's kind of going right now. But unfortunately, prices are going up everywhere. So, I mean, there's. I remember what was it the other day? I was trying to go buy a steak, and I went to go buy like 2 New York strips, and it was like fucking like $33. And and in my head, I'm like, a regular New York strip. Like I know I failed. I went to a really nice place to go buy them, but whenever I buy my beef, I always go somewhere nice because
it's not a fail.
I know, but my point though is like
it's the assumption that you're getting a better grade beef than somewhere else.
Right. So then what's funny is I did a test one time where I did both. Now I know there's a local place here in town which has really high quality produce and they're really known for their quality. And then I bought one from like a regular grocery store, and I compared the two. And honestly, like if I were to put them side by side, I can cook them both the same and still get the same experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that I'm kind of dibble dabbing in I'm about to buy a sous vide, like a cooker, like sous vide. So you vacuum seal your steaks.
Okay.
And then you put them in water that's heated to a certain temperature, which cooks them to that exact temperature, and then you pull them out of the bag, and then you just sear it on both sides and serve it. So it's essentially like if you think about it, reverse sear. You're cooking it to the exact temperature. So like for instance, instead of doing a sear oven and then getting to that desired temp or just before it, you're basically just heating the meat perfectly to that temperature. So when it's in the water, it's set to 130 degrees. It'll only go to 130 degrees. It won't get hotter. It won't get cold. It's right. So you can pull it out.
How you do prime rib. Same idea.
So you pull it out, and then you just my thing was I would just buy a torch and just blow torch that shit, because that's just a gangster thing to do, in my opinion.
So you were looking for the sear part of it, and you weren't getting the sear part of it. So now there's a system that does that helps it.
No, I'm
kind of confused by
honestly, like if it's up to me, like how I like to cook my steak, if I'm going to do a steak, is I'll use my cast iron sear.
Yeah,
I'll sear it like that.
So let me kind of ask you a question and then explain.
Sure.
I feel like you can do that. So why do you need to have a system that's going to?
Well, I guess I could say the reason why I like the sous vide. I guess
have you used one before?
My friend does.
Oh, okay.
He's made one before for me, and it turns out very, 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 very good. It's much more juicier because it holds all that juice in, because there's no wasted, like you're not cooking the fat. Obviously, you're searing it, you're rendering the fat when you're cooking it, when you're searing it, but not a whole lot of wasted juices, right? It all stays locked in the steak, because when you sear it, you're locking everything in. So it's much juicier. But can I get the same consistency on a pan that I can into a sous vide? Not exactly, because a sous vide is much more controlled. But when it comes to pan searing it, I kind of like, this is my preference if I had to pick one, I like the pan sear. I like the char. I like to put that real good char on the steak.
I'm 100%.
And I can do, like, for instance, I did one the other night. I have a vacuum sealer now, so I can seal everything. So what I'll do is I tried it. I was like, let's try it this way, because what I do is when I cook my steak, I'll pull it out of the refrigerator wherever I get it, let it rest for 15 minutes, almost 20 minutes, to relax the meat, so it's easy, so it cooks more evenly. And I'll season it. S&P, that's all I need. That's it. And then I'll heat my pan up as pretty much hot as I can before it burns down the house. Unfortunately, I have an electric grill, so it doesn't work as well as I like. But I'll sear it on both sides for about a minute to a minute and a half. Get those nice nice marks. Get that nice caramelization on the exterior of the steak. Once I get that caramelization and I feel comfortable with it, I'll kill the heat, put butter in it, and then baste. And I'll usually add garlic or thyme, depending on how I feel. Excuse me. I like using, sometimes I'll just put garlic and butter. It always works great. And then I'll baste it just to keep the steak moist and juicy. And then I'll take that steak, take it out of the pan, put it on a roasting rack. That's where the heat's. Now this is for a steak over 1.5 inches or an inch. I will not do a steak under 1 inch like that. I won't, because I can cook it too quickly. Most people don't realize that. Like, those thin cut ribeyes are a joke. Who the fuck? Like, if you're gonna do, like, for instance, if you're gonna do a sliced up something with ribeye, there you go. But don't ever buy steak thin cut.
Do a Philadelphia cheesesteak sandwich.
Yeah, fucking, you're wasting your money. Yeah. It's a waste of money. So, like,
so real quick.
Sure.
You know why they're cut like that?
I don't know, to make more money.
No, it's because someone fuck up the meat they're cutting. So they have specs to go to.
That makes sense.
And so they cut there, and so they have those ones, or they just cut a little bit up theirs. So those little small cuts you have is because a guy butchering the meat either made a mistake, or they just have to cut off the end here and here. And they're doing this stuff, so they have to sell it.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just gonna go to waste.
Yeah. And they're not great.
Yeah. And I it's funny because when I made the steaks last time, I got the ones. I went to my local store, like a local Walmart store, and they have decent steaks. I can make good steaks.
Sam's Club has good meat.
Yeah.
And I would venture to guess, and I tried some Walmart. I was very impressed.
Sure. They stepped their game up, dude.
I was like, fuck.
I don't do a whole lot of their. I had their cowboy ribeyes, and I've had their regular ribeyes, but I prefer a bone-in ribeye if I'm gonna have it. And then I like the New York strips, but I got to pick out my own strip. Like, it's got to be It's got to have a specific level of marbling, in my opinion, before I buy it. I won't just buy a fucking lean strip.
Well, you also have to watch out for the way it's cut too, because what's really famous for New York steaks is so if a New York steak actually has a whole piece of the meat that's non-usable, like it's called a butt end. If you cut out the fatty part of it, you can turn it into like roast beef meat. You can do it in chunks and stuff like that. So like when you go to the store and you see all these little strip things that are good for fajitas or stew meat,
yeah.
That's generally the butt end of a New York.
Oh,
if
really?
you cut into a steak, you're going to have this big fat cap that comes all the way through it. You can't even go through.
Yeah.
And so what you do is you see is they'll start cutting into it, and they'll turn the steak over, or they'll sell you in New York that has it there. And then I laugh at that and go, because they'll buy it, right? And people are like, oh, this is bad. It just tastes like it's bad texture. It's not great. And so I was like, it's because they gave you a fucking butt end of a New York, because it's all about profit. It's not about the stuff. Now, when you work in restaurants, that's not acceptable. You cut all the way, and when you get to that butt end, then you utilize the other piece of it. So New York's are really tough because they're
my favorite cut of steak, though.
it's the greatest grilling steak in the world.
I fucking love
I
it,
don't.
dude.
People probably, if there was any
They
response,
could say the ribeye or the fillet.
no
but, dude,
ribeye. So ribeye. This is what I think, and then let me hear your response. New York, best grilling steak you can have. Ribeye, the most utilizing steak you can do pan fried, grilled. You can roast it. You can do this stuff.
Right,
It's so tender. It's so good. I keep getting away from the mic. Sorry, bro.
It's fine. It's
I do all.
You're not perfect, man.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, I know. My first time. Oh, teach me. And you can do all these things with it.
I'll teach you anything. Just
Yeah.
don't eat me. Okay?
And then unpopular little opinion here. I think filet mignons are shit. They are the least. They don't taste like anything.
So expensive for no
They
reason.
taste so. They taste so like nothing. They always need a sauce to complement them. They have to have bacon to support them. They're like your weak ass friend who like all the girls go to, but you're like, this motherfucker, I've been supporting him all the time. You know, it's just like this steak that's just like there. And it's like, oh, I'm filet mignon. I'm like, fuck out of here. It's just not because it's so tender.
Yeah, it's
but
the lack of bite force, and that's just the style of meat. Some people, and this is just the way I look at it. Think of the lack of having to chew is a higher quality than other meat. Now,
people buy into name.
right?
It's not
the fillet.
Oh, I ordered a filet mignon with lobster. I'm like, well, good for you. I just ordered a New York steak that's fucking phenomenal, and I ordered a side of lobster. I paid for
I don't
less.
mind. I don't mind chewing a steak. I don't give a fuck. Like it doesn't matter. That to me, the reason why I like New York strip the most is because it's the most. I remember a long time ago I used to use A1 steak sauce. I used to use sauces.
Son of a bitch.
And I once I started cooking steak, I realized how stupid I was. Because you never got a chance to hear the beef speak. I call it the beef speak, bro.
Yeah.
Because I tried some elk in the past. I did cook some elk, and I found out real quick how much they differ because of the lack of fat content. And I always want to go
it's
back.
lean.
You can't. It's literally sear done.
Yeah.
And let it rest, and then you're eating it. You're eating it at 100 and it's meant to be served raw, like a medium rare or raw. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, like raw,
Yeah.
but like rare.
I get it, yeah.
And
It just becomes jerky afterwards.
yeah,
And it's
'cause
not the right jerky.
But it's a very interesting taste. Now, the reason why I also
It's too gamey for me.
yeah, well, we'll get to that point. My point
Yeah,
though is
sure.
like for New York strip though, for me it's a very consistent cut of beef, and I think I do the best work I can with that. Can I cook the other ones? Absolutely. It's a little different, because of how you cook it.
Mm-hmm.
But that all comes down to just the preparation and understanding of what you're going to be doing. Like a lot of times people are like, oh, it's so easy to cook steak, and I go fuck off, dude. I've seen so many people go wrong. I've seen someone take a fucking whole set of ribeyes they bought from Costco, throw them on the grill, cook them, and then bring them out, and they're all well done. And the worst thing you can ever do with a steak is, and I know some people will hate this, but well done steak is just ridiculous. It's blasphemy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, that's not how you eat steak. I don't care. Like, that's the most worst thing I've had. Now I've made the mistake of doing it and still making it juicy. Yeah, but that steak was like 3/4 of an inch thin. That's almost. I remember I cooked the ribeye once, a thin cut ribeye, because I want to prove a point. I can cook a rare steak with thin cut. And he's like, how? Watch this shit. Turn the grill as high as I possibly can. Like
Just
800 degrees. Go 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Rare steak.
You almost technically made a black and blue steak.
Yeah. I can eat those. I don't give a fuck.
Oh, black and blue is that's one of the hardest steaks you're gonna for a ribeye. Black and blue would be the hardest one you can do. But it's just
I've had blue rare once. I've done
Yeah.
it once because someone was like, "Oh yeah, try it." It's like, all right. So all I did is I just bought it. 'Cause you can't do it with a thick steak. It has to be a certain. If you do a thick steak, man, you're eating it cold, and I don't like cold steak. I've eaten raw beef before. Like I've taken a slice off of a fucking ribeye that I got from a really like nice quality butcher, and ate it. And it's not you're not gonna die.
No.
But like if you're ever gonna have blue rare, in my opinion, the steak's got to be like under an inch thick. That way, I can just go sear it for 2 minutes on one side, sear it for 2 minutes on the other side, get the edges right, then do my baste, and then pull it and let it rest. And at least it's gonna be warm.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be eating some cold ass beef. But I've always liked steak that way. There's no other way to eat steak. If you have steak, fucking well done. I'm sorry, dude. It's not a deal breaker, but I don't know, bro. It's kind of iffy.
So I'll give you perspective here. And this maybe tie into how we first started our conversation of understanding people, right?
Sure.
I used to get really fired up about how people order stuff. And I used to be like, fucking idiot, and you don't know what you're doing. And then I kind of realized, who am I to judge?
Right.
Anybody how they want to consume their stuff, right?
It's their food, man.
Yeah. I used to get mad about people ordering well-done steaks when
Sure.
in the restaurant. Whatever, they paid a lot of money. Could I educate them on how?
You know what?
No, you can't, because
Yeah.
some of it's religious. Some of it is
How they were raised up. I mean,
raised
it could
up.
be anything.
Some of it just they're scared of the color. So, if that's how they want to do it,
Fuck it.
go for it. I always then strongly advocate, if you want something that's going to be like that, let me marinate the hell out of it.
I mean,
Let's go for it. Let's go a different direction. Because, I mean,
I could probably use some cool shit.
yeah,
but-
because when you marinate steak, much like when you freeze steak, so I went to a butcher and I realized they butcher everything there, but they flash freeze theirs. And
I don't like that at all.
I said, damn it, man, damn it.
Flash freezing.
You can't freeze steaks. I don't give a shit what anybody
It
says.
changes the quality of it.
You can't get the proper temperature out of it. You
Yeah.
can't get the stuff that bleeds out. It does stuff.
It's funny you mentioned that. I did buy some steaks from another place, which I didn't mind.
Yeah.
The quality of the steak was good, the good beef.
Nope.
But the problem was that it came in frozen, and it has to thaw.
It's a no-go for me, bro.
It's. You're right. It takes the quality away from it.
You can freeze chicken. You can freeze shrimp. You can freeze fish. You can't freeze beef. I don't give a shit what anybody says.
Once you do that, something changes.
It doesn't cook the same way.
Yeah.
Period. And I know there would be someone who'd be like, "Oh, you can." They'll be like, I was like, then do it. But I'm telling you right now, I will serve next to you your frozen bullshit next to my non-frozen, and people will notice the difference. I don't know why.
Okay.
Because I'm not a scientist. I'm not
mean,
a scientist.
I'm
okay?
pretty sure I could probably tell if you did that.
But there really is something about freezing beef that really just doesn't work. Like, it doesn't transcend to the dish you want at the end when you come from frozen. So I just won't. I won't do it. I won't buy frozen. I went to this butcher thinking they had something on it, and I gave it a shot because they actually cut vacuum seal real quick, then go to frozen. I was like, oh, maybe it's a quick. I was open to the idea. I was like, oh, usually they cut and just sit here, hold and freeze and whatever, right? This was like, oh, this is straight to vacuum sealed, good to go. No, it still wasn't great. It just wasn't great. I tri-tip. I know people freeze tri-tip. I was like, I haven't experienced a good steak that's come from frozen, and I just feel like at the end of the day, just buy it fresh and cook it. Just do it. Like, why are you freezing it?
Yeah.
Like, what are you freezing for? Like, you freeze chicken, you freeze other stuff.
I mean, I've done the whole vacuum seal thing in frozen beef before, just to preserve it. And I've done that before in the past because it's like, oh, I don't have the time or this and that. But like, what I would just do now, in my opinion, what I just fucking do is I just fucking cook the steak and throw it in the fridge.
If you want
it,
if you want it for like fajitas, no problem. If you wanted to do it in an application where you're not drawing out a temperature, if you're not looking for an actual grade of color to it, or you want a specific temperature, like taco meat, no. Pull it out. Just because you're chopping up and you're cooking that down. Stew meat, who cares, right? But if you're looking for a cut of beef to sit down and have some mushrooms with, or a salad with, or a good little side dish, or just whatever the hell you want to do with an actual cut of meat, don't fucking freeze it, man. Like, I'm an advocate of that. Stop freezing beef.
Stop it. All you naysayers out there.
Yeah.
All you motherfuckers
Stop
out there.
freezing your beef.
It's funny you mentioned that. I just bought some dry aging bags. I'm gonna probably do a roast and just dry age.
Oh, but
roast.
do you have the actual temperature for it?
That's the thing. It's got to be a certain temperature, right?
Yeah, and it has to.
Is it like 30 something, or is it refrigerated temperature?
So it's been so long since I actually saw it, so I couldn't give you the right temperature. But yeah, it does have to sit for a certain. Yeah, look it up.
Look at this right now. Folks.
Well, you do know that all meat is actually pretty much aged 30 days before you get it in the stores.
Is it really? You sure?
You think it's just cut and butchered and sent to you?
I don't know. That's a great question.
No, I say 30 days.
So dry aging literally is mainly reported optimum temperature.
Yeah, it has to stay before. So Wait,
0
I
and
didn't
4
look-
Celsius,
I didn't
and
look.
which is 32, 39
Hold on, let
Fahrenheit.
me just say this because I'm supposed to know.
Okay.
I didn't look. It has to be below. It has to stay below 41 no matter what,
Yes.
right? Because
Bacteria starts to grow after 41.
yes, so it has to stay below 41. But I don't know the actual. Well, and 32 is freezing. If you go to 32, you're down freezing.
Sure.
So I'm gonna get. Well, what?
Well, if you're between 41
I'm gonna
and
guess
30,
the peak temperature is 38 degrees.
So in between 32 and 39.2.
Okay.
That's the best, driest, just thing. So like 33 to 34 degrees for me would be perfect. I mean,
Okay.
That's where I'd want to be.
Yeah, I got you.
Just because, and if I were ever to dry age, I would never do it in my hair. I would do it, bring it over to my friend.
But why
Matt's
vacuum
house.
seal? You don't
Why?
want. Yeah.
So here's the reason why. First things first, whenever you dry age something, you want to make sure you get you actually want to like wipe down the steak and get all the moisture off of it, because that's where bacteria could potentially grow. And the worst thing you could do is have something be contaminated, seal it in the bag, lock that bacteria in there, because sometimes bacteria can still
You said
thrive.
you want to vacuum seal it.
You want to vacuum seal it, but like the problem is you don't want to contaminate the steak. So if you touch something and it gets in there, or it gets difference, right? Dry aging is a different process, right? You're removing the
Talk to
moisture
me for a
from the
second,
steak.
because I'm going to school you here.
When you're talking about removing the moisture to intensify the flavor of the steak, that if you contaminate it by touching it or adding something to it, you could potentially ruin it. Now, the thing is, though, is that when you actually seal it and lock it in, I bought these bags by, I think it's called Umai or something, UMI, Umi or whatever it is. And what it does is it allows air to leave, but not come back in. So when you air seal it, you remove all the air out of it. It actually has these little things you put in there where you do a double layer just to be sure that it doesn't have air escape. Yeah, but it's really cool. I watched this guy on YouTube. He's like sous vide everything. It's actually he's hilarious, and he's always doing constantly weird, like new kind of ways to cook steak and shit like that. But I think it's great because like he'll buy like the most expensive steak in the world and do it, and then he'll buy the shittiest steak in the world and do it, which I find hilarious because like he'll do like a fucking A5 Japanese Wagyu steak where it's like $16 an ounce, or no, $50-something an ounce or whatever. He'll dry age that shit, but how much does he cut? He cuts so much off the steak. I didn't realize how much you have to cut off. I think it's called like the pelicans or pelican. I don't know.
Yeah, so it starts to mold.
Yeah,
It becomes moldy on the outside, and so you
because
have to
it's
actually turn
drawing
it
the
off.
moisture out. Yeah.
So it turns green, right?
Most of the time, green, or it turns a
You know
darkish.
what's really funny about green steak?
What?
It's the most tenderest, tasty steak you'll ever have. But you
Now,
have
can't you use that as a ground up?
a little bit. You can.
Yeah,
It's
he was-
sick.
'cause
It's
he-
disgusting, but it's so tasty.
He was saying he's like, you could take that, ground it up, and put it into burgers,
Yeah.
and your burgers are going to go from
Yeah.
different level.
Yeah.
And it's like, it doesn't look very
It's-
appetizing.
The problem is it's like you look at that and you go, that's nasty, and you're like, okay, well, you eat cheese, and they're like, yeah, well, cheese is good. I'm like, well, it's moldy as
Controlled-
fuck.
It's a
It's
controlled
controlled,
fungus.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a controlled fungus.
So the reason why I asked about a dry like an aged steak, the heat and stuff like that.
Sure.
When you said vacuum sealed, I asked why, because you want that crust to build on the outside,
Right.
and when you do it vacuum sealed, you're still aging it, but you're kind of keeping
it
away.
allows. So that's the thing. The bag allows air to escape,
Oh, gotcha.
but not
gotcha.
allows
Oh,
air to come
okay.
back in. So
Gotcha.
basically, it has some kind of membranes inside the bag where it allows the air to escape the bag, but
Yeah.
not allowing it to come back in.
Well, and I think that's why people get confused. They're like, so people go, we go to the store, or whenever you always say, like, so ground beef has to be cooked to 160 degrees, right? It doesn't, but I'm saying that's what the recommendation.
Fuck
And
this
people go, okay, but I can have a steak that's
120 degrees or
and
115.
you know why, right?
Yeah, I know why.
Because the bacteria grows on the outside of the steak.
Right. So
when you start to blend the whole steak together, so when you take the meat and blend it,
Right.
you're introducing anything.
But see those bacteria. What's funny though about the
They're not
bacteria
horrible,
is
but they
actually
can
good.
f-
A lot
know.
of it's good for your body.
But sometimes they can fuck you up.
Pork will fuck you up.
Yeah.
Chicken will fuck you
I
up.
mean, if you eat like 13 White
Sausage.
Castles and you shitting on a plane is gonna be pretty bad.
I did. Yeah, that's my bad for fucking.
But people
buying-
get so confused by that. They're like, why does ground beef have to be that? I was like, it's because a steak itself, you're cutting straight into the steak, so you're not introducing anything to it. All the bacteria on the outside, you're cooking it off.
Yeah.
No problem. A ground beef or ground item now is you're introducing the whole entire what bacteria will be. But I'm also a firm believer that don't be scared of bacteria. Now, I'm not an advocate of eating raw chicken. No one wants to do that. But I'm saying, like,
be safe about it.
Yeah, but the idea that we're so scared of consuming something that's bacteria-like or moldy-like, and the idea that people, especially people's idea of food, like people don't actually understand food. It blows my mind. It's like this. Oh, I'm all organic. I'm like, do you realize the all organic only means there's no pesticide? So an organic farm is right next to a farm that's pesticided. Do you not like? Are you?
So basically, if it was a windy day,
yeah,
and they just kind of
the only requirements is or like
fucked.
Yeah, or like free range chicken. They're like, oh, they're able to walk
It's
around
a gate right outside the barn.
Yeah, they're able to walk around. I was like, they're still. Whatever. If that's what you need.
That's what I watched. That, by the way, that Super Size Me 2. That one. Do you see that one? That was where I realized what free range chicken was.
Yeah.
Where the fucking chickens. This is what it means, and it's just like literally a fence.
Yep.
That goes like fucking 5 or 6 feet out of the barn where they can. That's what they call free range. Like what the fuck, dude? It's
like being told you own your house until you don't pay your taxes and they seize your house. You're like, oh yeah, it's a fun title you have until you realize it really isn't anything. And now I'm a homeowner. I love it. But I'm saying there's so many ways that people are like, oh, I only buy free range because it's better. I'm like, you don't even know what that fucking means. Do you even know where it comes from? Because I'm telling you right now. So I buy food for a living, right? I for 17 years I've bought food for a living.
I know you used to show me your orders, and I was like, Jesus Christ, you guys going through some shit. You're like, are you fucking kidding me, Derek? If I don't have my orders in by this time, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
the whole week's fucked.
Yeah, dude, no, it has to be. I almost. There was one year I almost did $1 million in food orders.
Oh my god!
And that's not bragging. That's me just being understanding of the market. Like people are so not understanding how. They're like, oh, I go to the Nugget and I go to stuff and I get this. And I was like, you realize. All food comes from a farm. So, yeah, your Nugget gets it from but they're getting it from some certified farm. So your food's coming from all your produce is coming from something that's going to be located in SoCal. And then once the weather changes, it transitions to Mexico. And then when it transitions, that's when you start noticing if you buy salad mix, it's dead in 2 days. Yeah. Your things are dead, right? It's all FDA approved. Just because a place says, hey, I buy only organic. Well, they're still buying it from a fucking farm. They don't. Yeah. Nugget doesn't have their own personal fucking farm that they buy from. No, they just fucking out, and they're just like everybody else, trying to find a way to supply the shelves. Yeah. And some places like Cisco just brands with companies and is able to use their names for it, but so they call it Cisco Classic, right? Cisco goddamn Classic is just McCormick seasoning. You know, it's these ideas that they're like, oh, we have this image. But you can go, there's an actual site online where you can see where everything comes from. Yeah. And it's just companies that get to put their name on there.
Yeah, and they don't want, well, here's the thing, they don't want they don't want them to know that. They don't want the consumer to know that. Yeah. Because that way.
I'm pulling back the sheets.
Yeah, and it's just unfortunate that it happens with that supply and demand sometimes because they're not going to paint a picture and let you know everything. I mean, come on, man. It's not going to happen that way.
No, and it's fine. I hate when people get really pretentious about their stuff and they're like, "Oh, I only do the rest." I'm like, just so you know, you're organic that you probably bought from Rayleigh's. We don't have a Nugget. We have Rayleigh's is the cream of the crop in terms of grocery shopping in the area that I am, right? So that's like, he's like, everybody's like, oh, fuck, we go to Rayleigh's. I'm so sophisticated. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, fuck. Toot your horn. But I'm like, you realize the produce, it's like, this is organic. I'm like, well, the same company delivers it, and the same company gives it from some other field. And I'm guarantee your all organic bell pepper, that's just so sweet, so much better. Just grows so much better. Here, is growing right next to the fucking bullshit shit in the field bell pepper that I'm eating. And I'm like, that thing is phenomenal.
Right. I mean, like,
no, it's just, it's so, I'm not talking shit, but it's, when you say it out loud, you realize how ridiculous it is. Like, all organic. What is organic? Like, organic is growing in your own house. If you were that person,
that's essentially what it is.
Just grow it yourself. If you think you're going to a store to get organic? Do you really? What if that person who's working that day just doesn't give a fuck and decided to fuck with everybody and put all the organic shit on the...
Yeah,
on
the
that
only
side?
difference is that usually it's marked. But yeah, I know what you're
No,
saying.
but I'm saying, yeah, I know, but yeah. You work in the retail side of it, so
So
you
I
can
know.
school me on that. You
I
know,
know that part,
yeah.
yeah.
But if last day,
It's labeled.
Yeah,
It's labeled that. Can't do shit like that, man.
no, I got you. But it's just these things, these labels we look, and I think it's so interesting that we look for labels. We look for these things to tell us, like, oh, I do my best. I'm organic. I'm gluten free, and some people have to be. I have actually, that's fine. But we just we're so stuck on that idea that this, I'm now I'm keto. Okay.
That's great. Good for you.
Good. Why? Yeah. I'm vegan. Did you know I'm vegan?
What's that thing? Oh God, don't go down the vegan rabbit hole.
You know how you know a vegan?
It's like,
you know how you find out someone's vegan?
What's
They'll fucking tell you.
no? The one I love the best joke I've seen was the Joe Rogan run when he goes, he goes, yeah. So I was posting this picture of this elk steak, and I just said, fuck this. This elk was formerly with ISIS and blah blah blah, and said all this shit. And then when I fucked up is when I put hashtag vegan. That's when I fucked up because I got just demolished by all these vegans talking shit. I just thought it was so funny, and that you're right. You got. I mean, no knock to nobody, but I think it's still at the same time it's still pretty hilarious how people can get so offended by just by just someone saying that. Like, come on, man, just let it go, man. We're just poking good fun. It's all for good fun, man.
Yeah, I'm all for people doing their thing.
Do your own thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
If you like it, go for it, man. I'm not gonna be the one to knock you. I don't give a shit.
But
Just
I
don't put your shit on me. Don't be like, hey, I'm a vegan. This is the right way to live. Like,
I will say this, though.
Everybody has the right way to live. Everyone has their own way to live, I should say.
No, and I think you're 100%. But I will say this, and just as a knock, is fuck vegans, and fuck goddamn.
Now it's coming out.
Yeah, no,
It's coming out. He's like, fuck it.
I love him because I love everybody.
After
but
three dippas, he's over here just like, all right, fuck it. Let's start talking shit.
No, because like I'll get off it, leave it alone for a week and see what happens to you. So tell me it's sustainable. Yeah.
Tell me it's sustainable. I tried keto for like 9 days, and it was the worst 9 days in my life because I started getting irritated. I got the keto flu, and that's what it's called. Like, I started getting like irritable over like the smallest things, and then like my body was like silently. I'd be sleeping at night, and I just eat carbs, eat more carbs, Derek. You're wasting your life. Eat more fucking carbs. Like, it was just like literally, I was just getting pissed.
Taco Bell.
What's that like Family Guy reference when he's like, hey, remember back in the day when they used to have those subliminal messages for kids about smoking, and it was just like, hey, listen to that, smoke.
Yeah.
And it's just like, are you smoking yet?
Yeah.
Like, that's how my brain was thinking.
Watching somebody eat pizza, and you're like, you son of a bitch! I swear to God, I hate you.
I just, I tried it, and it wasn't, like I said, I get it. I probably didn't do it the best way I should have, but did it work for me? No. Was it sustainable for me? No. My mom is a perfect example. She likes doing keto, and it works for her.
Yep.
It works for her lifestyle, and I respect that, and I respect anybody else who wants to do it. Now, I'm going to throw some shade because that's just how I roll sometimes. I'm going to throw some shade on it because I think it's hilarious, but at the same time, I respect the individuals who are doing it. Like, if that's what works for you, go for it. My thing right now is like I really want to get on intermittent fasting because I think that actually works for me with my lifestyle right now. Now, is it a sustainable thing forever? Probably not, because I like to eat whatever the fuck I want to eat, not when I can eat, I should say. But at the same time, is it perfect? No, nothing's perfect. Everybody's different. That's the great thing about the human body. The human body is always we're incredibly adaptive to our surroundings. Like, we can literally eat one meal a day and be okay, or we can eat 17, and it's all a matter of.
That's not true.
Well, we can,
one meal a day.
Yeah, one meal a day.
I'm gonna have to pull.
Most people in other countries, only eat once a day.
That's fair.
And they survive.
Have you seen them? They have flies in their eyes. Sorry, no.
He just went down he just do that.
Yeah,
he went
dark way.
He's like,
dark.
hey, you see the line? Yeah, I crossed that shit a long time ago. It's way the fuck over there. But no, like there's a point. Like I'm trying to say is that everybody
I get it, yeah.
is different, and everybody can be. The human body is the most adaptive thing. We can adapt to anything, and we can make it work.
I think that's 100 right there because you have to find your own balance.
Yeah, what works for you? What makes you function at your peak?
Because
at optimum level.
What worked for me to get down to, this is so I'm going to say this in a brag, but not a brag. This is my own journey. I got down to 174. I was almost 8% body fat, and I cut out all carbs. I stopped drinking beer for a year, but I didn't stop drinking alcohol. I drink whiskey.
Sure.
Because the reality is I'm alcoholic, but I'm not one who needs to wake up to a drink, right? But I love having a drink. I drink. If I go by the Surgeon General's fucking recommendation,
we're all fucked.
Yeah, we're all fucked. I'm screwed, right? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm an alcoholic. I admit it. Yeah, I'm like, raise my hand. I'm like, yeah, here I am.
Hi, my name is Todd.
Yeah. How many drinks you had today? I was like, fucking 17.
Like some guy stands up, 7 fucking tea?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Are you still talking? I'm like, yeah. What's wrong with you? I'm like, yeah, fuck me. But I really dove into the nutrition side of it. And so for me, it wasn't so much about being scared of fats. It was more about making sure my body was fed. And I think that people get really confused on how your body consumes the things you ingest, right? So like carbs are, no matter what, a calorie in is a calorie out. You fucking consume 190 calories of this, and you consume 190 calories of this, your body doesn't actually understand what the difference is. But what it knows is this is no nutrients, this is nutrients.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So what
he's using is it references beer to salsa.
Yeah.
That's what he's using.
Yeah. If we had the cameras, you would see that. So so your body is going to understand that, right? When you starve your body, it understands that too. It understands it. It says, hey, you're not going to feed me for another 4 hours. I'm going to start storing this as fat because fat is your tank.
Source, yeah.
It's your goddamn reserve tank. When you start giving your body enough to consume repetitively, it burns the fat first.
Because it has.
Yeah. So as soon as you understand diet.
Yeah, I found that out pretty quickly. Actually, once I did my first when I first started losing weight, I lost was it 47 pounds in 2.5 months, and I remember I was limiting my calorie intake, and I was essentially cutting weight. That's what I was doing. I didn't know that, but I was. I cut muscle mass, I cut everything. And I got really skinny and lean, and it was like, okay, I felt good, but I was just very, just sucked up, so to speak. And I remember telling people, I was like, oh, yeah, I feel strong, I feel great. And they're like, dude, you look like you're just, skinny. You don't look like you have mass.
Yeah, that's the issue.
And then I call myself, skinny fat, where, I don't have a whole lot of muscle mass. I don't have a whole lot of muscle mass on my body. It's just a lot of, I'm a big person. But my point is that I learned, I'm like, oh, wait, I'm only eating 1,700 calories a day. That is not enough for my size. I should be eating 2,400 to 2,700 calories.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I upped it up to about 2,300, 24, and I ate at that rate, and I still was losing weight. Still. And I'm like, damn, I need to eat more. And I think the most I ever tried to eat, the most I ever ate for a long period of time was 27 days I did this. It was, I was eating, anywhere from 3,700 to 4,500 calories a day. And I remember eating it, I had to eat, this is like a bodybuilder level where you're eating that much. It's sometimes even more than that. I remember I was working overnights with a coworker at the time. He was like a security or AP or whatever you want to call asset protection. He'd watch me eat and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because I'm literally eating 2 full cups of rice with every single meal, plus 4 to 6 ounces of chicken, plus 9 to 10 ounces of broccoli with those 2 full cups of rice. And I would literally fucking feel like I'm gonna die at the end. I think it was the last 2 or 3 meals in the day where I was like, fuck, I gotta get through this. I gotta get through this. This is gonna be the hardest thing ever, but I gotta get through it. And I had the drive and the discipline to be like, fuck it, and we'll just eat that shit, dude. And I would literally have to almost force down the rice. I would force it down, and it would be almost painful to watch me do it, but I would still do it. And I always thought that was kind of crazy how I still had the skill to actually just fucking be like, you know what, I'm gonna eat this shit, and I kept eating it, and it was so tough for me at first, but after I mean, I think the first week was tough because that much you're consuming that much calories. That was probably the hardest thing for me. But and then at that point, after I had started consuming that much calories, it almost became kind of a workout to go work out at the gym. It almost was like, damn, like you're just sluggish all the time, and you have to go out there and lift. And the problem was that I found out later after that was that I wasn't lifting enough, or I wasn't doing the right lifts. Like I wasn't lifting enough weight to make my body grow. So I was eating the right amount of calories, but I wasn't like training the right way. I was training like I was training my body to be conditioned to be able to lift.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I believe you were just really big into the cardio side of things.
Yeah.
You were just really
Lean mass.
go. Yeah. But you weren't doing anything that was actually push pull or resistance wise.
No, because
enough of it.
Enough.
I mean, yeah.
I trained once or twice with a friend of mine, Mike.
By the way, cheers. We didn't cheers.
We
tonight.
never cheers.
We didn't cheers tonight.
So,
by the way, thank you so much for inviting me out. This is awesome. I like
Yeah,
this.
that's awesome. And I'm glad you're having a good time. My friend Mike and he went out there and tried to train with me. And the thing was is that my muscles were not used to lifting heavy weight for that, like, you know, because I guess that's why it's so beneficial to get a trainer, because then they can go, okay, we're not going to focus on the weight, we're going to focus on the reps. So we'll work that way first, and then we'll get your body acclimated to lifting for putting on muscle mass, because you're strength training, so to speak, and there's a way you have to do it, you know, and you've been conditioning yourself to get through the workout. Your thing is like you've worked out so much now, you conditioned your body just to get through and then do your cardio and then go home.
Yep.
You haven't conditioned your body to go, okay, I'm about to do a lift now, and I'm going to focus on these muscle groups, and I'm going to try to get muscle growth, and I'm going to focus on how to do that, right? Am I performing the lift correctly? Is it the right way I need to be moving, so to speak, to do what my goal is, or what's my goal? Am I pushing myself? Because if, for instance, like if I'm going to lift a weight, like for instance, like when I first started.
Can I ask what the actual goal was?
For me?
Yeah.
When I first started,
originally, like
my first goal was that I wanted to do. I was focusing on muscle mass, like total muscle mass.
Why did you want to get healthy?
Oh, why?
Yeah.
I think originally what it was for me was just I wanted to see what it was like to. I guess I have that. I guess more or less it was like a challenge for me, discipline-wise, to be lean. Like, what is it like to lose weight? Be in this like format, because when you're younger you don't think about that, and like as I got older I was like, I'm gonna try this. So I tried it, and I got super heavy, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this and see how it goes. Then it became an obsession, which I'm obsessive over. When I have a personality,
obsessive compulsive disorder. I have that.
So when I do obsess, I obsess over my food, how I do it, preparation, all that stuff, and then my workouts, all that stuff. And I think ultimately my goal was to see how far I could take it, and I think at the end of the day, I think I wanted to get my body fat percentage down to like 10% body fat. The lowest I ever got was 11.8, which is I'm glad I did, because
congratulations.
I'm glad I did, because if I would have gotten any leaner, I'd have been a fucking stick figure. Like it just would have been.
You'll get sick.
Yeah, it was bad. I was like, I'm cool. I don't need to do it. I felt great.
Yeah.
Because 12 to 15% for males is average. That's normal. That's about where you want to be. And I was at like 11.8, and I was like, okay, I think I'm good. I got down to 202, and at my size, 202 is lean. That's you're tiny.
Yeah.
And
I'm battling that now.
Yeah, 202 for me is like super lean. So my thing is like, okay, what's my ultimate goal? And then I realized like, okay, being skinny is not just because I remember I tried to live the lifestyle I did before when I was heavier. And dude, I remember I went out to the bar. I was like 23, 24.
Fucking hammered instantly.
Oh, instantly, bro. Oh God, it was so bad. It was so bad. But long story short, man, it was a challenge. It was something new for me to challenge myself with, and I went out there and did it, and I was just super obsessed with it. It was a lot of fun.
It really does sound exactly like the challenge I did to myself. Like, I can do this. I did this, and I went there, and it was fun. I enjoyed. So, I enjoyed it because it gave me instant gratification, satisfaction, or that just like look in the mirror, and like, damn, right?
Yeah.
It was a lonely road.
Yeah.
It's a
No one
lonely
else was
road.
doing shit. Oh, dude, the first person, and it's funny, the first person we called out, this podcast started, was the first person who was talking shit. Like there was times where I'd be here, and a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, this motherfucker's on a diet. He ain't gonna go nowhere. It's only been 2 weeks. He'll be back on it in 3." And I remember that very vividly. Then the ones
Yeah,
who were
you
just
can't do
talking
it.
shit
Yep.
because it may have been this, like they're busting my balls. Who knows? Tyler's an asswipe, and I fucking love that piece of shit. He is a piece of shit, but he's my piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is.
No, that's 100%
Completely accurate.
Yeah,
Completely
I
accurate.
understand.
And my thing was with
He's
him,
the only guy who can slap you across your fucking mouth as hard as he did, and you say, "Hey, don't do that again." He said, "Yes, sir."
right? Right. That was the truth. That's a whole nother story. But
Yeah.
anyways, long story short, I had a lot of people telling me like, "Oh yeah, what are you doing? What are you
You
doing?"
can't. Don't. Bullshit.
And what's funny about that is that the more I heard that, the more I was like, okay, well, whatever. It's not going to work. I'm not worried about it because in 2 months' time, when I come, like I remember I went to hang out with my friends after 2 months of not hanging out with them. I remember I showed up at a party and they're like, "What the fuck? Like you're not how much do you weigh?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm 215 right now." And they're like, "Holy shit, dude! Last time I saw you were 247." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's been 2 months, man. This is what happens when you dedicate." And the funny part was, a lot of my friends were like, "Is he in the drugs?" And I remember my friend Jared was like, "Nah, dude. Like he's obsessed with like working out right now. He's obsessed with cardio, and he's doing everything like probably not the best way, but no, that's not the way. That's not the route he went. He went this route."
I don't like that saying. The best way. Whatever way works for you is the best way.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess it's better.
Yeah.
better
No, but I
terminology.
understand. I understand other people's because you know what, I went down the same. I think so. I went down it before I met you, and then we were all together in about 2.5 years. I think you went down that road
Yeah.
when you said, "Hey." My awakening was just looking at my family. Like, I love my family, and this is going to be like. So I say this, and I say it all the time. Everybody in my family was very heavy set.
Sure.
Had heart problems, had issues, had this stuff. I recognized that very young. And I was getting into my 30s and I fucking step on a scale and when you see 240, I'm not 240 fucking ripped. I'm not 240
Yeah.
beast. I'm 240 with a fucking Coors Light in my hand.
Sure.
No, Todd. This is not you. And I'm a slender person as is. I'm like, I'm just lanky. And so I was like, this is not okay, brother.
Yeah.
Get your shit together. So I would gym and stuff. And then I got a personal trainer and started working with him. And Cameron Elkins, who also
Cameron.
is
You fucking
out of Round
you
Point.
motherfucker, Cameron,
Yeah,
dude.
Round Point Mortgage.
Like I love that.
Good
motherfucker.
dude. If you ever see him, always talk to him. He will take care of you. Just a little
What up,
shameless
Cameron?
plug. Little plug. No, but that guy, he put me through the gauntlet because he had all these ideas of how he was going to be a trainer, and he did it with them because he had a lot of clients, and I'm saying this in confidence. He had a lot of clients that he did this stuff with that just didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I think for him and for trainers is you get all the blame for the failure, none of the blame for the success, right? And so he's like, you have to listen to me and do this stuff. And then people are like, oh, I don't. And so, they don't get anywhere because there's no accountability. And what I gave myself with working Cameron was accountability for myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to be this person. I'm going to change. I
Right.
fucking did. I did all that. Just like you did.
Yeah.
Just like you said. Someone said, oh, whatever, you ain't going to do this. Well, fuck you.
Bitch. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, fuck you. Like, that's who you're going to... You think I'm that person?
Okay.
Cool. I'll show you exactly who the hell I am.
Right, but do it for your own reasons, right?
But
Don't do
it was
them.
for my own reasons. It was for my own reasons.
Right,
But then
right,
when you
right.
start getting people all this stuff, saying stuff, it's like, oh, I'm gonna show you. And then it became this competitive thing.
Right.
Like I became disappointed. I'm like, you are not better than me.
I think everybody's right. But
Yeah.
then you have to kind of remove that situation.
And I had to then come back.
Yeah.
So I went through all three. I went through all 4 phases. Now I just do it because I love it.
Sure.
I'm so into
It's
it.
a lifestyle, yeah.
Yeah,
It's your
and
lifestyle.
I'm gonna be
It's-
37, and I feel the best I've ever felt, and I can run miles, and I can do things. I can going away from the mic. I can do so much, and I just remember seeing my family at 37 and realizing that's not who I'm gonna be. And now here I am trying to apply for a fucking a job that's gonna be very demanding, and I love it, but I just challenge, you know? It's always about the idea of challenge. Making sure you're pushing yourself enough in the right way that you're pushing yourself.
Right.
And you're not being pushed by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You're pushing yourself.
And it's okay to suck at something. It's okay.
It's okay.
To
It's
start
just
something
all
new
these
and be
things, you know,
shitty
and
at
just
it.
grow and grow and just be something. And you know, I am so happy I did the physical side or the body health side of it. I don't call it physical anymore because I mentally, physically, spiritually, whatever else, I've really grown into myself, and I love it, and I'm becoming someone else, and I have no problem really talking to people about it and just trying to be the advocate of growth and being like, hey, it's okay, like what you're going through, it's
Sure.
like we are all. Life is very difficult, and it's really hard to talk about it, and it's really difficult to be able to articulate sometimes what you're going through, because most people feel like no one cares. But what it's nice to be getting older is that talking with people that have gone through the stuff that I perhaps have gone through,
Sure.
giving feedback, giving something to them that will maybe help them move forward,
Sure.
you know, being more of a vessel, like the Will Smith said, but actually being a vessel, being something to help somebody get over what perhaps I went through at their age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not old, I'm 37, but I'm loving the fact that I'm just trying to give back and actually be the vessel and being love and stuff like that. I have my days when I break down.
Sure.
I have my days when I'm fucking difficult to deal with. But I'm trying to do
no
less
one's
of
perfect,
that.
man.
Yeah, do
And
less
say,
of that,
and to
right?
say you are, yeah.
Yeah. But the goal for me is just to push people in the right direction. Have the right people to push me in the right direction, and let's grow in this life together and do the things we love. The things that make you happy.
Right.
And just double down and do them. This podcast, I saw how much you put into it. I've seen the videos. I've done stuff. I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
I want my own podcast. I have a really weird idea, but I mean, you know, it's.
Go for it, man. Fuck it.
But I mean, I think you just needed somebody like you. Like I would do with someone like you, who can articulate and can speak and
Sure.
understand the production side of these things. You know, it's not just get on a mic and just start and talking and just you know
There's more to it, man.
there's more to it.
But that's where you got to remember. You got to think about where the sucking side of it. You have to suck at something before you can get better at it. Okay. And I didn't
Always.
start off good at podcasting, but what I realized is that over a period of time, you get better at something, right?
Mhm.
You do it enough, you get better. It's like anything in life. You don't. You know, there's things you got to work on. Other things you got to progressively. You got to constantly want to improve on stuff, and that's what makes you better at something, right?
Yeah.
When you're first starting off something like this, you know, one of the things that, you know, in my opinion, what I was looking at was just the ability to be personable and be able to talk to people. Okay. And my thing was I wanted to be able to sit down with anybody and just have a conversation, you know. And I know a lot of times people are resistant to that. You know, we're in this new day and age where you can pick up your phone and call somebody or text somebody or FaceTime them. You know, I'm old school. I hate texting, you know. I hate, yeah, sure, I'll FaceTime my family and stuff like that. But like,
I can confirm that he will never respond to your text, and he will call you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this guy is old school. He
So
really
and
is.
it's just that's my style, man. And
I can confirm that.
And I'll tell you this right now.
I would cheers to that, too. Actually,
cheers.
because that's actually a good trait. I don't give a shit. That's a great trait.
So,
I love it.
It's an old school thing. It's
Yeah.
an old school thing, and I guess what I'm trying to say is, you know, one I appreciate your support whenever it comes to this. Obviously, it's something that's I've been trying to get back into, and now that I have a kind of a stable position now where I can make it happen, it's very nice to have my support, my friends and family and that kind of stuff. And I do want to say, you know, I do appreciate your support on that, and I appreciate you coming out here tonight and sitting down with me and talking to me about it. And you know, I always have a good time talking to you. There's never a dry moment. I mean, it's always fun with you. you know, even from salsa talk to lifting talk to getting slapped in the mouth talk, you know, we always have a good time. There was one point, you know, we always have a good chemistry. There's always been good chemistry between us. I know you and Tyler have always been like this, like, you know, thing, but it's always like I always feel like you and I could talk too.
Dick touching kind of shit. Yeah, I know.
You can call it whatever you want, Todd. You know, you guys are bromancers, bro. That's just how it is. Like, I don't know. Like, you can't slap someone in the face that many times and not love them. Like,
I know.
You guys have done some
but
shit.
no, I just you know, it's too different. Can I back up a little bit?
Sure.
Can I get a little
reverse?
Yeah, can I just kind of get a little
Sure, let's go for it.
Us chemistry kind of thing.
Here we go.
So
here we go.
Tyler and I we connected, right?
Sure.
And music wise, you and I also, but Tyler and I have the similar taste in like the metal scene.
Sure.
So it's really easy when you have a common denominator, right?
Sure.
And then there was just also, you know, it was my own assholeness towards prior stuff with the other person and scenario. So, you know, and I think that you were just like, you know, figure your fucking shit out. Like you told me, figure your shit out. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you're right. You know, so there was a lot of that was in the middle that had nothing to do with you or I. It was just a other denominator. But the more I've come over and hung out with you, I'm like, we have the same, you know, like we enjoy the same things. We do that stuff, and it just became being reacquainted with you.
Sure.
And becoming the actual friend that that we should have been, that I didn't realize it was right there in front of me.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that. You know, I mean, I'm not trying to do like a love fest, but.
Oh.
But really
no,
is.
it's all right, man. I
no,
get it.
But I mean, the reality
it.
is that I really did take some things out on you that I shouldn't have never have done.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and that was just my own shit, and I fixed it, right? But coming to have conversations, yeah, we could probably do this for 5 hours.
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, I have no problem speaking with you.
We're already 2 hours in right now.
Are we? Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
but it's like, do you have a cutoff? Are you that person that's a cutoff?
It's not that I have a cutoff. It's just my viewers, usually my listeners, only go about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because after that, it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
You know, like you're gonna have like the roommates who are like, I watched your shit for 3.5 hours.
Yeah, no,
y'all were
fine.
up here talking about random shit.
No, but I mean, it's really a testament of the relationship that you and I have, and you know, no one will actually understand what you and I have gone through.
Sure, I mean, they may have in a different form.
Yeah,
they may have experienced that. I mean, we didn't share a whole lot of information about that.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they may have experienced the same. So we can't sit there and say they haven't. But at the same time, at the same time, I think
the fact that you and I are sitting here across from each other
is
after everything.
Yeah,
I love that. I think that's a testament of time. That's a testament of friendship. That's also a testament of two good people.
Cheers to that.
And I love talking to you.
I love talking
and
to
I
you
would
too.
love to do this again with a camera.
I would love to too. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys for tuning in tonight. It's the Derek and Friends podcast. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. Show your support. Leave the comments, guys. Once again, Todd Allen, thank you very much for being on the show today, man. I love you.
I love you.
Thanks for coming out, man. You guys take care. Have a good night.
Thanks for having me.